Dave here with Affordable Door and Gate. Hope everybody's doing great. So, one of you guys, speak up if it was you, if you're here, if you come in here. Also, if you jump on here, the first one, the second one, the third one, let me know audio's okay, because I really hate talking to the wall or just talking to the wind and nobody can hear me. And then also, too, if you guys jump on here, if you don't mind hitting the like button, it just helps bring more people in, more conversation, more fun. So anyways, one of you are reaching out to me, and I apologize, I don't have the name, and maybe you don't want to be known anyways. But it was, we were talking about garage door openers, and I thought, this is a great conversation to have with the community. Excuse me, because he was asking me about a residential garage door opener. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of stuck back in the old days a little bit. When I kind of started out, I still remember some of the numbers. So I kind of wanted to reach out to you guys. And if you watch this, obviously after the live stream, please still comment in the video. I try to make most of the stuff kind of in the front. And then if you guys have questions or anything, we kind of linger that later in the video. So I try to keep the stuff up front for some people that have a short attention span like myself. But what are you guys charging for openers, for residential openers? I told him, I believe it was about 150, 175. Now, mind you, this is like the customer is providing the opener, or maybe he's buying it at like a box store. It's raining really good outside. It's getting my attention. Sorry. We need the rain though. And so, but I mean, when we used to install for Lowe's blows. We actually, we used to do it, I believe it was for $78, if I remember right. That's what we got actually paid. I think Lowe's would charge the customer, it was like $96 or $98, so that was a little bit of money that they'd make. Now, mind you, this was quite a few years ago, 8-10 years ago. I have heard through you guys that the prices really haven't changed. So let me know. And if, like I said, if you're doing any service, garage door service business, you're more welcome to chime in about really anything, honestly. That's why I kind of do the live streams. Other ones I kind of set forward to whatever. Oh, I appreciate the like. Well, is it Heya Yana? I'm sorry, I'm horrible at pronouncing things. It says, hi, I hope you're doing good. Hello. So another thing I'd kind of like to bring up a little bit would be, what do you guys think about some of my seasoned guys, or even if you're new and you're a newbie? Is anyone here? I don't know. I think there's a few here, you know what I mean? But some people are kind of shy, which is fine. I understand that. But you don't need to be. But anywho, with the openers, I know a lot of the guys like to install like the LiftMaster, the Genie, but does anybody, provide, use the box stores? I think there's one. I thought Rich does, Rich B, I believe, which I forgot to put my Batman sign out for him. He's going to whoop my hiney. I've been looking for a good Batman signal to send him. Plus, I got to lock him in. Listening from Vegas? Woohoo! What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. It says, hi, I'm here. Awesome. Is it Rainbow? Is it Gracie? Awesome. Glad you're here. Let me know you guys in the comments. Let me know if it's what's the weather like? Temperature? Is it sunny? Is it raining? Is it hailing? Is it tornado? What's the weather like? I know some of the people, I don't think we got nobody here from Florida. Florida got hit pretty bad with those floods. I seen it on the news. I didn't do my own research. I didn't see where exactly was happening. Got the cola going today. I had to run down, grab myself a little din. So anyways, on these openers, I know some people try to beat me up on it, which is totally fine. But I really think, like I said, even I don't even think it has to be that you're just starting out. I think it can be. Patrick says 120. Oh, what's the humidity though? Oh man, because I know there's when I went to what was it when I was down in Arizona. It's one of those things like I would have never believed it until I felt it. But the temperature swings down there were so different compared to up here in Michigan. There's Rich is here. All right, Rich, don't you install store box openers? I thought you did. I thought maybe you commented in there or something about it. So okay, but it's a dry heat. So that's good. At least dry heat's probably better. You know, I still want to experience it. I've never been in like 120 degrees with like very little humidity because from what I understand, right, it's like you don't sweat much, which is kind of tricky because that's how you get dehydrated. But like for up here, oh my gosh, man, it's just been so like it's been warm. It's been close to what 90 degrees, and then it's been just it feels humid. I mean, you walk outside and that just like, and for me, the raindrops just start coming off. Perfect. So with Rich, is there a certain particular opener that you strive for at the box stores? Is there a certain like do you use like Chamberlain or are you using the Genies? Was there a certain brand that you kind of particularly like using for the customer, or you just kind of go whatever? And then also, is it like, are you purchasing it and then you make the customer pay you, or do you have the customer purchase it and then you just come in and do like the labor part of it? Which I still, like I said, if somebody, I don't want to say it like if you're just starting out. I don't think it's even if you're starting out. I kind of look at it now and I go, still to this day, I go, I just went and helped my uncle on one, and he kind of dropped the ball on it. You know what I mean? Like it was anybody got an uncle like that? An uncle, you love him, but you're like, really, dude, really? He I get to this. I was hearing stories on it, right? And I know, I hear these stories about it. I told him, I says, probably photo eyes. He had a older Genie screwdriver. So finally I get the phone call, right? It's like, no planning, and it's one of those things like, I don't want to put it wrong. I love my uncle. He's a good dude. He's taught me a lot. But anyways, he's messing with this opener. Well, finally he can't get it. It's the Mayday call, right? Phone's just blowing up. Finally texts me, and I was like, where you at? I was like, I'll swing down there. I get down there. He put up another used opener. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, and then he's like, well, the other one must have been an 8-foot rail. He's like, this one's a 7-foot rail. He's like, but it works. They don't care. They only got 7 foot tall, for vehicles. And I'm like, okay. And so I start messing with it. I'm finding voltages like on the side of the metal, like where it's not supposed to be. I'm like, what is something's wrong with this thing. I can see the capacitor. And of course, how it's funny how you start talking about story. And I'm like, this capacitor looks like it's blown in here. And he's like, you know what? The guy I got it from said at one time, he said, it did smoke. And I'm like, he goes, but it kept working. He's like, and then he didn't want it. And I'm like, probably because he had to hold the button the whole time, So we're trying to mess with this thing. It's just not working. I'm like, look, go to the store. I was like, they had them on sale. They had the Craftsman's for $169. I think they raised them. I was in there today. It was $199. I'm like, I swear that was $169. And now it's $199. Either way, it's basically $200. And I said, we can, you can put an opener together. And I said, there you go. It's overdone. They're selling the house, kind of weird stuff, right? Not him, for a customer of his. And I'm just like, place, you know how it's one of those garages where you're just like, everything is just like, holy crap, this place hasn't been cleaned in a while, has it? You just kind of like, anywho. What do we got? We're just hot as balls, man. It's been hot. That's why I haven't really been making. Oh, and sweet, I see we got up to 3 likes. So please click that like button. Like I said, it brings more people in. I appreciate it too, by the way. But yeah, that's why I haven't really done any live streams lately. I've been dying, man. This heat is just. I don't want to complain because um, I really like the heat compared to the snow. But whoa, man, this was just a little bit on the super hot side. But on one part, on a positive note, I am not going to complain because I had 2 of the vehicles that I mostly drive that the ACs were just fixed in the nick of time. And so, and the one that's the most important one is the house AC, right? Because when you sleep, man, I cannot sleep hot and sticky. I will not sleep good. You always got to take a shower before you go to bed, and you got nice air conditioning going. It's a good life, man. It's a good life. He says yes. He says, we got Heck as a HEC. Heck here. He says 200 to 275 is what I charge. Awesome. Heck, if you don't mind, whereabouts are you located? Or just give me a state. You know what I mean? Because I know in the States it can all range, or if you're in Canada or something, you know. I'm just curious where that number, because I think what's his name? I can't think of his name because I'm horrible with names. He was telling me, he goes, do you think I could charge, gosh, I don't remember if he told me 200 or 225 or 250. And I kind of didn't want him to lose the job. So I said, you could, right? Because you guys let me know. In theory, right? In theory, you normally charge whatever the material cost is. See, I really like this whole material thing because I heard it once. It never really sank into me for quite a few years. But what started happening a lot was when I had to deal with right here. When I had to start dealing with Service Spring a lot, and my biggest problem was nothing wrong with Service Spring, great company, definitely highly recommend them. What the problem was though is like once you start doing like QuickBooks and you start doing stuff, everything's like legit and computerized and stuff. It's like a mofo to go in and keep changing these prices, right? I mean, a perfect example is think of when the cough syndrome, right? The COVID and the vid and the 19 happened. Prices were just, I mean, you couldn't even keep up. They were changing by the day. So it's almost like it's easier just to fire off like whatever the price is. So if an opener is $200 or if it's $300, you double it, right? It's $600. There you go. And what I've learned, what's worked good for me in a lot of bids and stuff, because maybe you have something that you really just kind of don't know what you're doing. Like you're just kind of like, I don't know what I should charge. What I've always liked to do, because that way if you have to meet this person, like you see this person in a restaurant or you have to meet with them or they want to call you or they want to talk to you or whatever, I like to put on there not to exceed. Because that way it gives me kind of an out. Because I've done some quotes before too that I've had problems where it was like the customer called me, right? We were doing a big job and they're like, you're like $10,000 over everybody else. And I'm like, well, you know what I mean? But what you got to do is if you got customers that, even if they're residential, you can still do this and you should do it if it's feasible, right? But what I hate about kind of sometimes about the business is we go into a lot of unknowns, you know, and you show up at the job, it's, the car's in the way, the car don't start. Can you help me push the car out of the way? The car's got flat tires. A lot of, and you're sitting there going, dude, this ate up an hour of my time. You know what I mean? But if you have it where it's like not to exceed, right? You say, well, this job, obviously it took me an hour and a half longer. I got to charge you the full price, or I'm going to knock $10 off, or I'm going to knock $100 off, whatever it is, because it went really smooth. Or I reused your existing wires. I just, I didn't have to run wires. The wires were here. All these different layers, right? Mr. Rich says, Chamberlain for sure. I do both supply and install, no preference, whatever fits the bill. I like that. Whatever fits the bill, man. That's kind of how I roll. Like, I'm like, we don't do a lot of the box store ones. It just It's just not, like I said, we just don't do a lot of residential either. But I agree. I could you know, whatever, man. Like, at least in our area, everybody's different. Their area is different, right? Some people, like, I know, like California, they got battery backup, they got all these things, you know, and people want the Wi-Fi. I mean, people want the Teslas, you know, blah, blah, blah. For us, generically, in our area, it's just, I want it to go up and down. That's the bottom line, right? They might want a few features afterwards. And if obviously you get like chamber and lift mast, they typically have it integrated so you can kind of do whatever you got to do. But what's that? If you, Tyson, oh, how you doing? How you doing? I think you know what, Tyson, I just seen one of your comments, and you're asking me about 2 advertisements, and I didn't get back to you on it. And I couldn't think of it. I was kind of like, I don't know what my 2 advertisements would be. I guess let me ask the group if anybody recommends. Well, if there's only 2 advertisements you could do, what would be your primary 2 advertisements? You know, if you just started out, well, I'm not saying start out, but right now, what you know, would it be on Google? Would it be, you know, business cards? Would it be business cards is kind of a given. What would you do? Advertising, door hangers, next door. I've heard somebody was reaching out to me about that, telling me they're updating their stuff like every day. I was like, that's a good idea. I didn't even think of that. Every day, early in the morning, pop something on there. Chamberlain for sure. So if you could start over again, what forms would you choose? Oh, advertise on. Oh, it's got it right in here. Well, there you go. I just asked the community. You know, for me, I don't know. I mean, my initial reaction is it depends on what you're doing. I felt like this a long time ago, and I still feel like this now, right? For commercial, you got to get in front of their face, right? You got to either knock on the door, be in the office, deal with their secretary, put a business card down, put some cookies in a bag or whatever. Hey, this is for the maintenance guy. You got to figure out who the maintenance guy's name is. I mean, you got to be hungry, right? You got to find out who it is, send them letters, send them your pricing. I mean, you got to do like whatever you got to do just to get in front of their face. But typically with commercial, I've always found out it's like they never seem like it's once in a blue moon they call and we capture them. It's because they're really ticked off with whoever they're using. But if you go in there kind of with a hungry and you're like, I can provide a better service, sometimes they'll click if the other person's fallen. But residential, I always look at like, this is my theory. This is just my opinion. And I could be off of this. Residential is, I say like the fire extinguisher, right? You're not important until there's a fire. Where's the fire extinguisher? We got a fire. Well, that's how the residential, at least around my area, are for the most part, because the spring broke, right? Now, you can make a little more money on springs. You should, if you can get there in a timely manner, because you don't have a lot of work to do. So you can be like, well, I could be there within 30 minutes, you know, and maybe you can charge another $50 or $100 what your competition charges. But it comes down to probably, in a sense, more or less Google. Because still to this day, I don't go anywhere. Even my wife, kids, family, friends, we never sit there and go, hey, I don't know how to fix this, or I don't know how to do this. It's either 2 things, right? It's always Google it, or it's YouTube, but nobody ever goes, why don't you Yelp it? Go Yelp it. Yeah, go on Yelp and search. I know Yelp's probably not the right searching. Or go to Yahoo. Yeah, go on Yahoo and look it up. Type it in. So Google's the most powerhouse. So what you got to do is you got to make sure that you're with your customers, you know, you can have them get your reviews. You know, I think Google has changed a little bit. I think they promote you. I could be wrong with this. Nobody knows how their algorithm works, not even me. But from what I understand from other businesses I've started, I believe that they're getting smart. They're getting smarter. And so what they're doing is like they're going to promote you a little bit more, like if you got a physical location in a commercial spot. Don't hold me to it. I'm sure maybe some of you guys, you know, like I said, the reviews help if they're organic. I know you don't want outside ones out of state or anything like that. They got to be organic. But it seemed like the location, certain things that it's looking for criteria to help promote you up there a little bit. You can also just sponsor, right? You could just spend money, but that's a weird one, man. That's like, is it really happening? I've heard people in other businesses that said they've had good luck with like Facebook. I've heard the one guy say with Nextdoor, post everything. And like I said, with Nextdoor, I tried doing the paid one time and it was horrible. So I would just do it my own personal, and I would just advertise something on there doing that. But whatever you can do, there's so much free stuff now. Put stuff on the old Facebook world. Put on, and you'd be surprised that sometimes even if you do like, let's say you put a remote on there that you're not going to make money or something, or however you word it or balance it, you'd be surprised that somebody might come on there and say, "Hey, do you also install?" If you put a little in the verbiage or something like that, or got a few pictures, and they also go, "Hey, do you install openers, or can I get one from you?" And you can say, "Well, actually, I do. I can provide one for you, or get you a price, or do 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 do." Oh, dang, we got up to 6 likes. Awesome. Starting over again. Let's see here. He says, "I do not like the new photo eye brackets, though." He said, "A few snap clips off." Ooh, snap the clips off. Dang, that sucks. They're not riveting them no more. So, HEC's from Houston on his prices. That's just labor. Perfect. That's what I figured. I figured it wasn't open or include or anything. Yeah, that sucks. That's really crummy, Rich, on those brackets. I've seen them. I don't remember if it was you that showed me. Somebody showed me the pictures or something. I haven't really played with them yet, but that's a bummer. I remember when Chamberlain went to remember how they used to have the solid J arm, and then they went to that more was like a stamped one. I kind of didn't like it, but I guess we've never really had no problems with it since I can think. But the photo eyes, I can definitely see where that's a bummer. And the problem is like photo eyes are callbacks. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, photo eyes that's problematic, man. Like I don't like that. That's not cool because that's callbacks for you. That's losing money. That's probably customer's not happy. Not good. Rich says I need to raise my rates. Great company. Boo says, "Hey, from Australia. Awesome. I think you're our first Australian. Am I saying that right? I bet it's warm over there. What's up, Mr. Sky? Hope you're doing good. Says I take the clips off the brackets and bolt them. Oh, bolt them to the track. The clips usually get hung up on the bottom fixture and catches the cables. Crazy. It's always, it just always depend on the install. Sometimes Genie was good because like I always like Genie for like new builds, and an electrician ran all the low voltage. I was always like doing the happy dance. I was like, yes. I was like, all right, we got the Genie, and they got the screws and the photo eye, and I just take that beautiful wire from the electrician. I'm like, oh, thank you, Sparky, and I just stick it in there and get it all tightened up, and I'm like, didn't have to do no splicing. And I like that they're mounted, if the blocking and stuff is right, and I can put it right on the blocks instead of the track. Chamberlain has done a pretty good job over the years with, their photo eyes can take quite a bit of vibrations. But I'm always still just like, man, if I can mount them to a solid wall and not those tracks, that's always a little better, but it sounds like those are going to be problematic if they got rid of the rivets. The brackets are getting weaker. That could be a problem. I'm just glad they got away with. I feel like Craftsman was the only one that ever did it, but they used to have the plug-in, and those plugins with those prongs, at least up here in Michigan, with the salt and that, and the weather and humidity. It would they'd always get corroded, and that was always like a weak spot. You'd play with it, it'd work, and you're like, do I leave it or do I replace it? And you're like, but it's working, but it could be. I don't know what to do, and I don't have none right now. Oh, it's working. It's just going to be a service call today, and they call you back. You're like, oh, and luckily, hopefully, you remember, or you got it on your notes. You go back, got to bring back, and then it's like you almost got to be like, yeah, we got to change out these photo eyes. And do you charge another service call? Do you, because you knew the first time you just didn't have them with you. Blah 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 blah. Do. So Rich says, I think I'm gonna start mounting them to a flag bracket. Yeah, it sounds like we might have to do that. That's for sure. Oh, it says customers get what they pay for. I give them all options and my recommendations. Usually people choose what they have the budget for. Perfect. I think that's a great way to you know, a great way to word it. You know what I mean? I think that's really great. Like I said, it's really hard to beat the box stores. I just went through the process with a lady, and we did the dance, right. And I'm hoping that once the order comes in, I'll get to do some installs on the doors. But we did the hokey pokey and twist yourself around and all that kind of stuff, right. But her first thing that comes back, she goes, yeah, I think it was like, what was it nine? So I think it was $300 cheaper, roughly. Yeah, somewhere like that. $300 cheaper to buy the doors at Menards. Some of you don't have Menards. That's like a box store for us, like a Lowe's or Home Depot or a lumber. What do you call it? It's a box store. And I said, you can. And I told her, I said, honestly, it'd be easier for me because where she's at, I said, I don't have to haul them. And if they come in damaged, because she wants black doors. Oh, ooh, boy, this thing's got a dent in it. Ooh, it's got a scratch in it. And instead of it coming back to me or coming back to the secretary for Affordable Door and Gate or secretaries or anybody in Affordable Door, it's, boy, this sucks. Guess you're going to call Menards and see what they're going to do for you, and if I got to come back out, it's going to have to be extra or something or da 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 da. So I can't tell you that. Like I said, there's a lot, and they're going to haul them. Like I said, I don't got to touch it, and I got to haul it. I mean, little 9x7s. I think there's 2 of them. Rich says word of mouth. That's true. All it takes is getting with a few good people, I feel like though, I'm still hesitant. Put this out for the young guys. I'm not against the church. Ooh, got up 10 likes. Thank you. So, I like the churches, right? The churches are good. Good people, good Christians. Love them. But I honestly don't work for churches. Why? Why don't you work? What do you got? Something against them? No, it's because I think it's kind of like the Grant Cardone theory. I need one decision maker. One decision maker. One. Not a community, not a group, not 3, not 5, 10, 20, 60. One decision maker. So I've just have this problem. I've did man doors where they do like they don't have it on this one, but over here, got that door closer. I've done that for churches. I've done like they got a garage door in the back or something for like a shed or something, or I've done it for the pasture. And I tell you what, those people have screwed me over so many ways to Sunday. And so I just don't work for them. I just don't do it. I won't work on man doors. I won't work on garage doors. I've had guys that lived in houses that said, oh, the pastor's paying for it. And then it turns into, I can't get a hold of the guy. I worked at one place. I thought it really was it was like a DPW. I don't know why. I don't know if it was the name. And we get up there and it's basically an old school, like a 1-level school, really old, right? Brick. And we found out where we got to work in this place, right? Really old, nasty wood doors, like the Crawford Springs, nothing standard, right? Well, we're in there, and I mean, up to my chest, there's like these boxes. You know those banana boxes? I think everybody's seen banana boxes, right? Where it opens in the center, but it's got the holes. I'm like, looking, everything's level here with all these boxes, and I realize that this stuff's got like some kind of food in it, like bags of chips or whatever, right? And I keep hearing all this noise, and I finally realize it's chipmunks. It's animals in here. Like, what the heck? Anyways, this guy was using the system, right? We go back, long story short. We go back, I'm like, this guy's not paying us. And then we screwed up. We were supposed to have the secretary make sure she contacted him, got payment first before we went back. Something happened, we were busy, wires got crossed. We get back there, we're installing it, and it's like, I find out later on, I'm like, we already ordered the springs, so we're already like, whatever, $600 into this. I guess we're here. I guess somehow something got missed. We install it. one of his workers, right, comes up. He's got brand new kayaks. Brand new kayaks from Sam's Club. And the guy that I was working with has been talking about he wanted a kayak for the longest time. I mean, I just always hear, I get a kayak, I'm gonna go down the river, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, dude, dude. And I'm like, you know what? I'm like, let's see if they'll give us one for payment. You know what I mean? Like, let's see, because I'm like, that kayak's probably worth, like $600-800. That's what our job's gonna be. And if we can get that, I'll just take it out of your paycheck. I won't even charge you as much or whatever, something. I said, at least we get something, man. Because I said, we're not gonna get paid out of this. And so the guy even said when I said, hey, there's a guy around the pastor, whoever. Oh man, it's too bad you guys can't do it. One of you is not the owner, right? I always tell you, I don't tell people I'm the owner unless I absolutely have to. And I'm like, yeah. Well, let me make a phone call. Let me see if I can talk to TJ and see if so I make a phone call, blah blah, right? Come back. Yeah, he said we can do that. Well, let me call the pastor. So when he does, we make it happen, right? I'm like, oh. Whew. So obviously they're running some kind of scheme thing going on. I don't know. Do get what they pay for word of mouth. Rich says separate flag bracket, not the one on the track, a separate one. It's probably a good idea. I always thought Genie are a little more finicky. I can't remember if it's Genie. Genie seemed like they did not like the Sun, or maybe the Genie was the better one. All I remember is I used to have problems with the Sun. It seemed like Chamberlain, it would do it in extreme, but Genie was a little more prone, so I'd always be used to putting one sensor on one side for the Sun. Hex says Google/Facebook. Pretty much your top dogs, Said I'm a great volunteer fireman. Tracker says, hey. Is it Boo Kremers? I can't say it, sorry. Yes, Australia, no, it's winter. Winter at the moment? Holy cow. Australia? Really? It's wintertime? Send me some pictures. Send them at the daveadubson@gmail.com. Send them to my email if you got any pictures, if you don't mind. You don't have to. I just love pictures. I just love pictures of everything. Tony always sends me pictures. Rich sends me pictures. Tanner sends me pictures. I just love you guys just send me pictures. I don't care if it's the road. I like just seeing what the weather. I like seeing what the trees are. I like seeing just anything. Vehicles, anything. Concrete. I'm just weird. I like seeing. You ever notice when you go down in different other states and that you're the roads are different colors. And it's well, obviously whatever's in the earth that they're mining to make the roads, the minerals and dirt is a different, consistency than what I'm used to. I just think that stuff's fascinating. JB, he says, hey, from the Midwest. He says, Brawley, what are your favorite vice grips? Ooh, good question. Maybe some of the guys can comment a little bit on it. I feel like the vice grips, I've always been just the vice grip brand, right? Is it the blue and yellow? Have always been pretty good. I'm pretty much stuck on right now. I got the Milwaukee vice grips, and those have worked pretty good. What I definitely don't do for vice grips is I don't get them from Harbor Freight. I've had cheap ones and they twist, or you can't get them to pop apart. And I particularly like ones that got rubber on them, even though the rubber slides off eventually if it gets oil on it and stuff. But I just like that rubber cush, when you're squeezing them. So I guess right off the top of my head, I always think of vice grip. I've had some of the Mastercraft even from Menards, and those have been okay. I'd sometimes buy the 3-pack, so it's kind of small, medium, and big. Because I like to have a little variety for vice grips. I've just been in situations where, most of the time I want big ones for in the track, for doing door stuff. But I use a little variety. So maybe the Mastercraft from Menards, vice grip brand, or right now the Milwaukee have always been the best. But if you guys have a certain brand, comment, let me know, because it's not like I know there's better stuff and there's worse stuff. This is also, says JB, says, what do you feel the average pay for a fair skilled guy on the trade? Ooh, that's a tough one. Um, I guess it all depends on kind of where you're at, what kind of bennies, if you're doing any bennies, benefits. It could range anywhere from probably 18 to 35, $40, depending on the skill level and leadership. Can they handle situations? My biggest thing is what I've found out over the years is that a lot of people, a lot of workers in a sense, right? They panic. They don't know how to typically problem solve out of the norm. So that kind of stuff is very valuable. Obviously, attitude's a really big one. Trust. They're not thieves. They're not stealing from you. They show up is obviously really another top one. But sometimes, the kind of the cherry on top is like if they know how to kind of take leadership and they can kind of bring other guys behind them is a really big plus. So that's always like a benefit of like pay, or you just know how like when you get guys that can look at stuff and they're like, I'll figure it out. You know what I mean? And they just muster through something instead of just being like, I don't know what to do. Like we should probably just call it a day. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're all over the place. So it just all kind of depends, but somewhere between 18, 30, maybe 35, 40, depending if they're and depending on your area. Cause I know like you go down south, stuff can get a lot cheaper to some degree. So hopefully it kind of helps a little bit. Liftmaster guy, hope you're doing good. So I just knocked on my neighbor's door. Seen they had a broken garage door opener. Offered to put in their new Chamberlain for free, just because I haven't done it in a bit. He says, impress them enough to make. There you go. Make $125. Perfect, man. And I've been practicing a little bit, or trying to. I haven't refreshed anything in a sense, but I've been playing around with like the whole idea of offering a free service just to see what the feedback is. I think honestly, there's ways to make money if you hustle, right? There's always ways, but it's not as easy right now. You know what I mean? So everybody's really crunching pennies. You know what I mean? So, but I had one. I did it. It was free. Same thing. And the lady, I think she gave us like $100. I'm like, you ain't got to give us. I was like, just give us some lunch money. I was like $20, $40, $60 the most. And she's like, oh no, you know what I mean? And she was like $100. And then the neighbor lady wanted us to look at her. So we lubed it. I made a video on it. And I think she, and I flat out basically told her, I said, look, your neighbor already paid for it. And she's like, what? And the neighbor lady's like, no, I didn't. And she goes, I think she gave us like $40. I'm like I'm trying to do this. I said, this is for educational. I was like, for my kids. I was like, for you guys. I was like, for anybody out there. I was like, I'm not, I don't need to be paid. Like, I'm fine. So, but it's always nice to have a little lunch money, right? Even a little more, maybe for a couple more lunches, I guess. But that's the thing, is like I said, I always look at it. I would never be afraid that now that I know what I know, right? This is my opinion, so don't beat me up too bad. We've had college push down us very hard over the years, and college is not free. You can go spend 20, 30, 50, 60, $100,000 with interest. That's the key, with interest. It's not just a flat boom, 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 right? No, with interest. And you come back and now you're flipping burgers for McDonald's, right? Or you're working at whatever, right? The grocery store. You're not even doing what you wanted to do. And you realize, oh my gosh, either I got to move, which I wasn't planning on that, move out of state, move away from my family, whatever, to even try to make a living, right? And then you might be miserable. So to me, to go do something for a couple hours, and I'm going to be like, I'll do it for free just to learn, right? Especially if you don't have no experience or you haven't touched the product since it's come out. That is so valuable, right? Because now you're gonna play with it. You're gonna get muscle memory. You're gonna see how it works. You're gonna run into a few hiccups. You're gonna walk through it, right? And you're kind of at a neutral state. It's kind of like I came in here, not expecting nothing, you know. And if you can't figure it out, you tell them, say, look, this is who I recommend. I'm really sorry. I got at least put together for you, but you're gonna have to call somebody and pay somebody. But I did as much as I could. I can't. Or you go home that night, you figure it out. Watch some YouTube videos, contact Uncle Dave, whatever. You know what I mean? And you get through it. You know what I'm saying? Sweet. We got up to 12 likes too. That's awesome. Thank you guys. Do. I feel like, did I miss? Okay, Sky is here. I didn't know if I missed you, Sky. I'm sorry if I missed somebody. Let's see where we're at. Let's see where we're at. He says, them are real old photo eyes. Says we're up to 12 likes. That's right. Rats. Is that what you got? Uh-oh. Hopefully it's not getting funky funk. He says, what's this booze? He's south of equator. They've had their first day of winter. Wow. I figure with all this heat, man, it's spread it all over the world. You can't get it unless you go to the North Pole. JB says, yeah, he says Pittsburgh's brand sucks. Pittsburgh's. I'm trying to think of those ones, what they even look like. I've heard of their product. Pittsburgh's ones, he says I'm going to have to look around for cheap but safe and solid ones. Yeah, there's just sometimes like there's certain things I'll take risk with, like plastic forks. But when it comes to like, I always remember when I used to work I was an oil change tech mechanic. And it was, the guy always told me he always had the Snap-on, right? I couldn't afford the Snap. I think I had Sears or Craftsman because my buddy worked there, right? And of course, anything I'd break, I'd bring in. I'm like, hey, and he's like, not a problem. Here you go. Here's a new one. And, but what I've learned with the garage doors, at least, it's like, how do you explain this? It's like with the garage doors, especially it can be residential even, and it can be commercial. But when you're there and it's a really hot day and your day is not going good at all, like it's everything is going wrong. The last thing you want is like for a tool failure or a tool to not be up to par or for it to malfunction and you lose a finger. Or the door comes crashing down and it damages the door, or you get hurt or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's certain things like vice grips I'm putting on there normally to stop, hold the door while I'm doing something with a come along or something like that. So like vice grips, I don't screw around. I'm trying to even think of like now I do have certain tools I like. Like I'll get the green case from Menards. That's got it opens up for all your drill bits. It's got Phillips in there. It's got the star bits. It's got even 7/16, 3/8, 7/16, or whatever, the smaller one, 3/8, whatever, 5/16. Really nice little kit. So I do have particular ways I buy stuff in the kit wise, but like I used to use gear wrenches and they seem like they've kind of detonated on me. I don't know if they've gotten better now. So like, screwdrivers, I really don't care. I lose them, I drop them. I mean, screwdrivers are kind of one of those things, like I'll use whatever. I buy little orange ones that are universal, but like I said, vice grips, power tools are another one. I don't like to screw around. Now, it could be different because if you're starting out and you're on a budget, well, get the Ryobi maybe or something like that. But for me, the problem was at the time, I was traveling too far, for one, and I'm the guy that's working, 8, 10, 3 a.m. in the morning. 3 a.m. in the morning, there's nobody open and my drill stops working. So it was always like I need dependable. Typically, I have 2 of everything. if my saws all quit working, I at least got a grinder. I always had two impacts. I normally had sometimes one drill, sometimes two. One might be like more like a hammer drill for concrete. One might be your standard drill. So it was like I could get out of a pinch basically. So, like I said, if you can swing it, try to get the better, and just buy one for right now, and then just slowly get another one. Don't buy all four of them or six of them, how many you want. Just go slow. Like I said, tools are pretty important when I feel like it's in the garage door because it's you're traveling, you're I don't know. That's just my opinion. I've learned over the years. Like I was buying cheap tools. Like I forget what Menards used to sell, Mastercraft or something like that. I can't remember what their thing was. Power. I remember the one that got me is I bought a hammer drill. Bought a corded hammer drill. I had to put a toilet in at a rental, and I had to drill into concrete, right, to put for the flange for the toilet. And I thought, I'm never going to use a hammer drill really again. I just need it for this one job. And I thought, I'm just going to buy the cheapest one. So I went and bought the cheapest one. It said, it was a big unit too in that. I remember I went to hit with it, and I've used a hammer drill before, and it started hitting. I mean, this thing was such a turd. I thought, there's no way in H I'm keeping this thing. I put it back in the box. I took it right back. I said, this thing is just, I don't know if it's faulty. I don't think it was faulty. I think it was just a dog. I said, I don't want it. I want a refund. And then I went and bought something that was like 3 times the price. And then I think I still have it to this day. Actually, I bought it used. It was used DeWalt hammer drill, big hammer drill for concrete. This is awesome input. Thanks, man. Well, thanks for the question. That's what I said. I'm always here. You guys are more than welcome to ask questions. I love stuff like that. It gets my brain thinking. I'm always trying to, help you guys out, better your business because, honestly, you guys lift me up too because I learn from you guys or you tell me stuff and I'm like, I'm going to check into that because that's pretty, it's kind of like we're even talking about the photo eyes and I'm like, didn't realize that's a problem. That's going to be one thing, if somebody asked me to install, I'm going to be looking at those photo eyes going, boy, these are problems. I might have to do like what Rich B said. I might have to install this or hook it to a flag bracket separate from the track on the wall or something or on the block. Because I don't want my stuff popping off. It says Vice brand, and I weld an was that eyelet? Oh, on the end, so I can torque it down good, and it's good for roping things up. Nice. Says JB says I'm really studying operators and love solving problems. Oh, that's good, man. That's the spirit you gotta have. You know what I mean? Like you gotta be hungry. I can't tell you how important that is, because a lot of people don't have it. A lot of people just don't have that spirit, and that's the thing. It's like me. Every day I want to learn something. If you can teach me something, teach me it. I mean? If you know how a better way to install something, teach me. You know what I mean? And you just have an open mind. Don't say it's my way or the highway. And like I said, if you can share or teach, hey, do it because you'll leave an everlasting memory with somebody because you did do that. You know what I mean? Because there's just nothing more valuable than the skills or teaching or showing somebody how to be better or, live a better life. Or any good resources to study that? I think the biggest thing, like I said, is for JB on that question, is there anything basically good to study for solving and diagnosing openers? I really feel like in my heart, the best thing that's always been to me is experience. And I really, I'm telling you guys the truth here that the generation, even right now for myself, we got it so damn good. So good, man. I can't tell you. Because when I started out, I had to get on this every time. Every time. I mean, I started out with an old Nokia, right? There was no Google. There was no YouTube. You read the owner's manual, which barely helped you, or you read some troubleshooting in the back, which was crap. or you called the manufacturer, hope and prayed that they would work with you and not go, are you a licensed dealer? Are you in our system? Because we can't help you if you're not a licensed dealer. And you're like, well, or are you a homeowner? And I mean, you'd have to slice it all different ways, Now, obviously for us, because we've been in business, we don't have that problem because we already have our vendors. We're all in their system because we buy from them and they're all happy and blah, blah, blah. But what I'm saying is, why I'm saying you guys have it so good is because, and myself, is because we have the power of the internet. We can instantly, I can figure out more in a 5-minute video from somebody's short video than I can with a technician typically or a tech on the phone. Now, sometimes I get an earpiece or you get headphones or whatever you got, something that you like to use that you can talk while you're talking to tech support for whatever you're doing. And I've had it many a times where when they said something, I went, oh, and I'm already 2 or 3 steps ahead. And I go, I know dang it, I've had this happen before, and I know this is what's going on. And I'm like, all right, and I try it and it works. And I'm like, hey, thank you for the help. But really experience. I think it's experience. Once you start learning the tricks and what acts up or what fails, and sometimes it's tricky because then they change it all up again, right? They got a different model. We got different circuit board, different motor. We go from AC to DC, which is always kind of a bummer. But once you start understanding normally the algorithms of how things work, oh, the door is bouncing back up. Why is the door bouncing back up? Oh, the light's clicking. The light only clicks if it's a photo eye issue. Okay, so we got a photo eye. Heck, there's been many times, I'm sure some of you guys too, I've been on my belly, right, staring at that photo eye, and I'm like, hit the button. And I mean, all it takes is just a slight little glitch in that light that it doesn't even shut off or anything. I mean, it looks like, it'd be like an eye pupil just moving a little bit, right? Just a little boop, and that triggers that door to fire and go back up. All it takes, right? And it could be a short wire. It could be the photo eyes are just a fuzz off or something. It could be a circuit board. It could be, I've had it just many of things, and you got to start doing problem of elimination. So you get a set of photo eyes, put them up by the opener. Let's try it again. Okay, I think it's in the wiring. I've had it before where I even draped the wires right from the opener right down to where the brackets are going to be, and it works then, but it's not working this. Obviously, there's something wrong in the wiring. A staple's too tight. So biggest thing is just keep going out there and just keep messing with stuff. You know what I mean? Until you get to that point where you're like, yeah, I'm not going to install this brand, or I'm not going to do this. That was just too much headache, not enough reward. And say, okay, customers, I'm only going to install Genie or Chamberlain. I'm not installing Mastercraft or whatever from these other stores, or I'm not installing whatever other crazy names they got out there. Says, what's your choice of lube up there? I don't know if we got some. I'm sure we got some out there, but typically there's 2 that I've just particularly, and I'm not, I don't know what you call it. I'm not too much of a lube snob. Is that what you call it? I'm not a lube snob. I mean, I've told customers, I'm like, just WD-40 this thing, because everybody knows what WD-40 is. I'm like, WD-40 this thing once a year. And, the biggest thing I always see customers is I'm always springs. They always miss the springs. So you have rusty butt springs. I've seen the guys, they picked up some biodegradable lube. And for me, it's almost like how it shoots out of the can. It's kind of what I like. But these have been for us around here. This one's like a more heavier one. Like if you got a really kind of a salty, what do you call it? Like a salt shed or something. Where up here we have the road commission. We have salt on the roads. So maybe you want to hit the bottom cable and stuff with this lube right here. See if you can see this. This is the multi-purpose. It's like a red spray lube, 12 cans, blah, blah. That's a heavier lube, right? But this lube right here will leave like a yellow film on the door, after a year, it dries out and it leaves a yellow nasty film on there. It's, if you don't wipe it off, basically. So I kind of don't try to use this too much on the residential. I might hit the springs with it, but it doesn't saturate in the springs like I like as much as this stuff right here. So I like to carry both these. I carry the one that's kind of the red, the one that's the ultra gel. I find out with the ultra gel, it seems like it flows a little bit better into the rollers. Like when you're trying to get the bearings in the nylon rollers, I'm not so scared about misting stuff because it doesn't seem like it turns yellow, in my opinion. It's a little bit lighter, heavier than WD, but it's got a little more tack to it. So, but these are always my two go-to. That's probably why Service Spring, in a nutshell, probably has them together. Now, I think we have used this stuff here. I think when they were out because of the COVID, but I still just, these have been, I like these even for chains. I think honestly for chains on like gate operators, I got to go with a heavier, like a fluid film, or because that stuff doesn't, it works in a pinch. Rich says, he goes, just JB's, it depends on what job you're doing. That's right. What kind of lube you like? Oh man. So just use the same one for it all. He says, what could go wrong? I love it. Says Pittsburgh got bought out and made, is this Chinesium? A way back? He says now available at nearest Harbor Freight. Yeah, like I said, there's the only thing I like from Harbor Freight I can think of right at the top of my head is I like their sockets, their deep sockets. I like them because they're color coded. So when they're in my bag or I just see them, like I always know the purple one is 1/2 inch. I know the silverish gray gold one is 7/16. I think the more silver one is 9/16 or something like that. I just like them because for the sockets. I think that's about all I ever use at Harbor. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I use from Harbor Freight. I can't think of anything. I might buy a hammer or something, like a rubber hammer or something from there, but I don't think I've ever tried any of their ratchets. And maybe some of them are kind of decent. I don't know. Like I said, I used to be a big gear wrench. I used gear wrench for a long time. I bought a set. I think I bought 2 sets, one for me, one for another guy. And it was like, I mean, the first time I used this, like the guts just popped right out. And I'm like, oh, this is like the first time or second time I used this thing. And I'm like, and I'm not even being hard on it. And I'm thinking, the guts just fell out. What the heck? And it's like you look at it, you know how it is. You got sweat running down. You got dirt over your face. You're up on a scissor lift that's swaying, and you're like, whatever. And you grab another wrench, and just use the open end or something because you're like, I ain't got time for this right now. I can't put this thing back together. I ain't no scientist and sitting here at a workbench. Like, I'm up in a scissor lift, dude. Like, I need my stuff to work. Rich says, Pittsburgh is our Harbor Freight. What's up, AMV? He says, hi there, just joined. He says, what is your occupation? Am I saying that right, sir? So, my occupation is garage doors. Garage doors, I also deal with real estate, but mostly this channel we do with garage doors, openers, commercial, residential, the garage door business, service business. It could even be service business. I think we're kind of all like I still like watching some of the landscaping guys. I like watching even some of the trucking guys. I like watching the fire guys. Who's another one? Oh, the tow truck, right? Because I always think to me, this is my opinion. I think either we're a tow truck driver or we're a fireman. That's my always 2 theories. And we got up to 15 likes. Thanks for the likes, you guys. So the reason I always think of tow truck and I think of fire guys is because the tow truck driver, to me, right, is like that customer that calls and goes, I got a broken spring. I need somebody to come out here and fix it. And you're like, okay. And you go, I'm looking at the schedule here. I could probably get to you in about 3 days. And they go, what? Oh, no. Or they'll just be like, they'll try to politely be like, okay, well, put me on your list. And then what they'll do is they won't even call you back. So hopefully you're being smarter than I was, right? And you're not just showing up there randomly. You're making a phone call, making sure they still want you. You're doing it a day in advance. You're doing it the night before. You're texting. You're doing all that stuff. And they're to use somebody else. Or, they just don't ever answer the phone, blah, blah, right? So that's like a tow truck. The tow truck driver, right? Because if you're on the side of the road with a flat tire, and it's just you even, or your family, and you're like, you call a tow truck company, like, we can get to you in 3 days. You're like, 3 days? Like, I need my tire changed now. I got to get back on the road. I'm calling somebody else. You know what I mean? So that's why I think of tow truck drivers. I go, we're tow truck drivers. Yes, I can see where that relationship or whatever, that's kind of a hard life sometimes. And then the fire truck. Why do you say fire truck? Because there's an emergency, right? And it never fails. You'll have a day scheduled, right? And then you get that phone call. And it'll be, my door's crooked, my door's off track, I got a broken spring. How fast can you get here? Ding-a-ling-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding-ding-ding. It's fire truck. And then the reason I think of fire truck is because I go, your truck needs to be ready to go at all times. So when you get done for the day, at night, on the weekends, you need to be sitting there and you're cleaning and buffing your tools and you're kissing it and hugging it and squeezing it, going, you're going to take care of me and I'm going to take care of you. And so your truck's got to be ready to go, just like a fire truck, right? You don't want guys showing up, our hoses are leaking, their hoses are cut off, right? That's not how the firemen work, right? Their stuff is organized. They got their suits ready to go. They got the oxygen tanks filled. They're ready to go. I see one of you texting me. Appreciate it. Let's see here. Do 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 do. Ooh, JB says, how about torpedo levels? Why am I thinking like I know what a torpedo level is, but why is that not ringing my bell? I don't think we really have anything for torpedo levels. I mean, are we talking like those little, these ones were free. I forget who these are from. It says Miller Edge. It's got everything you need. Marker. Oh, it's not a marker. It's whatever. I think it's even got a light. It's got a light. Everything you need is right here. It's got a level. I don't think torpedo levels, like I said, as far as I know, I don't think I have any particular brand. I just normally go with like, I try to use my common sense like when I use one and I'm like, this thing is off. Like we got some that were short, so I carry some small ones. I think they're actually called block levels. The little, whatever they 6 inches. I carry those. I carry one of those. I learned from my uncle, a longer level is more accurate. And the older I get and the worse my eyes get and just the more I don't want to think about things, I get longer levels. You know what I mean? So like on my truck, I always carried like my little torpedo 6 inch. I carried I think a 3 or 4. Then I had like the 6 or 8, and then I even had a giant one that's like the 12. You know what I mean? For like really big jobs or something's really out of whack. Like you're on a big commercial job and it's like, dude, this jam's off, and you're fighting with the builder, and they're like, our jam's not off, it's your garage door guy, blah blah. Screw that, and you pull out that big level and smack it up there, and it's like, dude, it's a half a bubble off your jam. Well, it was because Junior was doing it that day. I don't know, and you're like, what do you want me to do? That's why my stuff's getting all wonky. So I'm not a big torpedo snob when it comes to levels. I think most of them are pretty close. I know they're not all the same. I forget there's that one that's the wood brand, but my uncle always had one, right? And he always told me, he's like, one way's true, the other way's not. So you always got to use it, and he knew it, but I didn't. So, I mean, but you guys let me know if there's a certain brand you like or something, or is a good one, because I don't know. I just use whatever, it comes to levels. It says Milwaukee have real strong magnets on theirs. That is a good point. I do like the magnets. I've gotten into the habit, I'm sure as you guys, I wear gloves though when I'm doing garage doors. Some of you guys don't. You guys are just manly. I'm always used to, rubbing my hand on level. It's always just like a protocol in my head, to make sure it's clean, and then you can. So magnet is very important. I think that's a good point. I'm glad Rich put that up there, because I think it's really nice, especially if you can put it on the track or anything. Because I've had the ones back when they didn't, and one bump from somebody that doesn't know what's going on. There goes level. Master Force. I don't know if if that's Master Force for the level. Is it O2 Tactical? Thanks for being here. JB says the best resources I found for checking on quality of tool purchases have been the YouTube channels Projects Farm and Torque Test. I haven't heard of that one. I think I've heard of Project Farm. That guy does a lot of good stuff. Oh, Rich is in there tearing it up. Good job. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, you can probably, like you said, there's, the tools, you really can do a lot of research and figure out a lot of stuff. I'm sure that's a very good. Oh, we got 15 likes. I appreciate it, you guys. Like I said, if you're here, you haven't hit the like, please hit the like. It just helps bring more people in, more conversation, more ideas, more thought processes. Rich says, my first cell phone was a Panasonic with the headset still corded to the base. He says, think the thing was $2,000 back then, and you paid for minutes used. Sounds about right. I remember my ex, her family, or her parents bought one. They had one in their truck, right? And it was like, I don't remember what brand it was. I think it was like in a leather case. You like zip it open, and it would, like a phone would pop out, and it's kind of like that. They basically used it for emergency. It's amazing. Like I said, it is just amazing. Even myself, we don't realize how good we have it. We really don't. I mean, it is just amazing how technology has really came along on this stuff. And what always makes me what always is kind of weird. This is between me and you, so nobody else. But what's always weird to me is it feels like we got more information now than we ever had, more technology, more things that are free, but yet people have gotten dumber. Not you guys watching, but some other people. Let's just say they've kind of fallen down, and it's like sometimes people ask me questions sometimes. This was more like employees, that no longer work here. That it was like, you got a phone. I know you're on Facebook, so you know how to operate the phone. How do you not know how to, like, kind of just like simple questions? Like, it might not even be so much even garage door. It might just be something for their vehicle or something. And I'm like, it's all there. And they just be kind of like, it's probably laziness is really what it comes down to. Like, they just want you to tell you, they want you to tell you how to fix it instead of them looking for it, because they just want to look, maybe watch whatever, golf, Fox, whatever, sports. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know what they do. I'm still trying to figure it out. It's Harbor Freight. The iconic brand torque wrenches are excellent for the price, calibration, and durability. Well, that's good to know. Might have to try them out, because, I think Harbor Freight's got some stuff that's not so bad. That's kind of like it kind of reminds me of the grocery store, right? Like, they put the milk in the back, right? So you got to go past all the junk food and stuff, but that's the junk. And then you're like, I got to get the milk. And there's some wholesome foods on the corner. Like, they got some stuff that's pretty decent and actually not too bad. And then it's like some of the other stuff, you're just like, junk. Like, doesn't work. Like, what was one of them? Was it maybe the ratchets? And the thing is, they changed it. They got Hercules or something now. And so it's like, I've looked at some of their stuff. I think it was like even some of their power tools. I can't remember what it was. And the reviews were coming back, and I was like, man, it doesn't sound like for the price, it's really a bad, and it's all depends on how much you use it. That's how I look at it. Like, if you're going to use it once a year, then buy the cheaper brand. You know what I mean? If it's got good reviews, and like I said, you can do the research. But if it's something I'm using daily, ooh, man, you hope. But even some of this new stuff, right? I mean, like I said, you want something to really fill your brain with a bunch of nonsense. Toyota typically makes good vehicles, in my opinion. They are having a blunder of stuff going on with their new Tundra. The Tacoma, I guess, is having transmission problems. So just because, and these people are paying a lot of money for these new vehicles, and it's just really a shame that they're having all these problems. They'll probably make it right. They'll probably do something. I don't know, but it's just like, I couldn't imagine. They were saying, I think the Toyota Tacoma, they were saying some people are waiting 3 months for a transmission because they're not out there. And I thought, I couldn't even imagine having a brand new vehicle and be like, I'm out 3 months. Like, you're taking this thing back. Says our Dayton 3-ton jacks are a good value buy as well. I'm glad you brought that up, JB, because honestly, I buy their jacks. I got a couple that are like the slim, and I personally actually like their jacks. I've had really good luck with them. I am not gonna lie, I haven't been nice to them. I abuse them. I let them sit outside once in a while in the rain. And I had one that I used in a, I forget what I was lifting, but I was doing it wrong, and I actually bent the frame of it, and it still just kept on working, until it puked out. And it was, how use something and you're like, you guys and lady, you all know what I'm talking about. You're like, I got my money's worth out of this. Like, you don't owe me nothing. You're not going to pump today. I understand. It's time for you to rest. It's time for you to go to the scrapyard. You know what I'm saying? So I have no problems with their jacks. I've had good luck. The price is right. So definitely, I think I even bought some of their sockets. Now I think of it, yeah, I got some of their sockets. I use some of their 1 inch, or not 1 inch. What is it? Half inch sockets for, like, taking off lug nuts and stuff. Haven't had no problems with those either. What did I buy though? I don't know. He says never heard of them, called block levels. That's what I was told by a guy that I think it was even my uncle or something. He just told me, they said they use those. He says, what the hell is this little level for? And I said, well, that's what I use for, like, track and stuff. And I was using it for garage doors, but that's a real touchy. I mean, a little level, man. It's so tough. And he goes, those are for block levelers or layers. He says when they're laying blocks, he says to check them sideways. And I thought, he goes, that's why block is 8 inch, 6 inch, whatever. He goes, and I was like, I guess. I mean, but Safeway, right? The garage door manufacturer, they came in and gave us a handful of them. They had magnets on them, so obviously use them for more. And they work really convenient because they fit in your pouch. They fit in your tool bags or whatever you use them, tool bucket. So I used it for many years, but now I've kind of upgraded. Even like on our fence, I'm a little bit. I used to use the corner ones, and I've gotten a little bit. I don't know how to explain it. It's not. I don't want to say greedy or anything, but I've gotten where I like to use a little bit bigger level. 3 foot, 4 foot, just because I like to be. I like to be a little more level. Do. What's O2 Tactical got here? He says Master Force. He says is the Menards brand you were looking for a minute ago. Thank you. He says they make tools and garage door operators under that name. Yep, they do. I'm trying to think. What's the one? What's the one, guys, that I'm thinking? Before it was Master Force. Wasn't it something else? Gosh, I can't think of the name. I should know that name because people would buy them at Menards. I think it was before the Master Force. Oh, I can't think of that name. And I hated that name. I made a video on it. People were like, I don't know why you blah, blah. And I was like, all right, whatever. It's like, I've had so many problems with these things. I was like, go for it. Have fun. It says the first car phones were wired into the cars, and then when you received a call, the horn would honk. No way. I did not know that. That's crazy, man. I was literally watching tonight. I think it was earlier today. I was watching what was it? I was watching Hoovie. I think it's Hoovie's Garage. He's a funny character, right? And I didn't realize he's dressing up, but he was doing it was probably like a 96 or 98, I believe. Buick Park Avenue Ultra. And what was weird about it is my mom had a Buick Park Avenue Ultra. And sorry, Mom, don't tell Mom. But I would drag race her car with my buddy's car, and I would darn near keep right up with him. And he had I can't remember what year his was, maybe a 96, 94 Honda Civic with a VTEC. And he was always ticked off, you know what I mean? Because he could get about 2 foot in front of me every time. But he couldn't ever pull away in a car length. And he was just like, this is bullcrap. He's like, how's that big-ass car? Keep up mine. He's like, I got a 4-cylinder VTEC, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's a supercharger, baby. It's a supercharger. Well, anyways, they're doing the interior. I forgot that you could do the volume, and it would turn the knob on the radio. And I thought, oh, my gosh, I remember that in the climate control in the corner. Just things that you think about that's old school. It's pretty cool. Perfect. Throw another question in there. Like I said, keeps me yakking, keeps things going. They said we got 15 likes. Maybe we'll get up to 20 before we're done. I don't know. Like I said, appreciate it. I got to go off script here for a second. Sleepy pill time. You get old, right? It's not really old. Well, I am old. I ain't gonna lie. But I've learned over the years. It could be psychological. It could actually work. I don't know. It started a lot with the business because I used to, my brain just constantly, you know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, this job, that job, this job, this job. So I found out if I take a sleeping pill, and I've calculated it down for me. For me, it's right about 9:30 is about the sweet spot. 9:15, 9:30. You get past like 9:30 or up to 10:30, it screws me up. I have a hard time. I don't know why. I'm weird like that. Maybe some of you guys are like this. Comment below. Can you guys take for me, I can take about a 10 to about 20-minute nap, and I'm good for like another 3 hours. Does that make sense? So like, let's say maybe you would normally go to bed 8, 9, 10, right? Whatever that is, plus 3. You know what I mean? Like that's what a 15-minute, 20-minute nap does to me. You know what I mean? Like I can just pow, man. I got 3 hours out of that puppy. Pro Max. Is it pre? What do you got on there, Rich? God, I feel like this is it the Mastercraft? What am I thinking that it used to be? I feel like there was another name. I got it, you guys. It was Extreme garage door openers, right? That's what it was. Because I was always like, people are like, well, I can go and get an Extreme garage door opener, or do you install an Extreme garage door opener? I'm like, nope, I'm done with those. I'm not installing those hunks of junks. I think they're made by Guardian. I think Guardian still makes the ones that they're making. And they are just piles of junk, in my opinion. I just will not deal with them. I just had too many problems, too many circuit boards, too many photo eye issues. And I just said, I am out. I am done. Extreme. That's what it was. Extreme garage door openers. And see what the trick is, in my opinion. I think a lot of these manufacturers, I think Menards is just cutting edge, and they learned it faster. They do these products for about 5 years, and then they get rid of it, modify it a little bit, whatever, use a different vendor, and then they get a different opener. And they do this with all kinds of other things, I think. Because you think about it, right? If you were the big corporate guy or the whatever CEO of this company, think how much easier that's going to be for all the employees and everybody, and to make more money. That if the person comes in here and they got an opener that's 8 years old, and like, you got to think like, does anybody think like this? Like my grandpa, he was a grouch, man. He'd come in there and be, this thing only made it 6 years. You think it should make it? And the young kid behind, his hair all slicked back, and he's thinking about going to the beach tonight. And he's like, I don't know, sir. We don't even sell these here. This must have been like 3 years ago. We discontinued these. And my grandpa would be like, boing, like, what do I even say? What do I even do? They're not even have parts for it, and, well, God darn it, blah, blah, blah. I guess I'm just going to have to get a new one, and he's just going to buy that one again, and he's going to get another 5, 6, 8 years, and it's going to blow up. And you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how the world kind of works. You know what I mean? And I think some of these door manufacturers are catching on to this a little bit too, where they're changing their models, the doors, or they're stamping, or they're making the door a little thinner, a little wider, and they're like, oh, we don't even make that model anymore. So now you got to buy a complete door. Because, you think about it as a company. Think about all the parts, and they're changing, and just all the, like, I'm not saying it's good. I'd like them to stay standard, but I don't know who's controlling these things. I really don't. It's kind of like the car manufacturers. Stuff's gone wild. Like, the only thing I can think is the gov. They're involved, and they're just screwing things. And they must fund these people so much that they better listen to them, and we better do this certain protocol. And I don't want one black cloud of smoke coming out of your vehicle, and it must get this many miles per gallon. And they try to reinvent it, and they kind of fail. Sometimes they succeed for a little while. It's like, come on, man. How many years have we been on this planet? We cannot, like when Ford was spitting out spark plugs, this is ridiculous. How many years have they invented the motor, and you're missing spark plugs? You know what I mean? That it's blowing spark plugs out because there's not enough threads in there or whatever. You know what I mean? Every vehicle has different problems, but this is just what I'm saying is And the fact that what really gets me, what really grinds me, is that we don't have options. Here's your cheap model. And everybody goes, I ain't gonna buy that. That thing's a piece of junk. I bought the cheap model. I know it. But here's the model that's the expensive model. And we've had this, and this is tried and true. And we've done many, many years. This has been around for 50 years. You know, yeah, we've changed the body on it or something, but the powertrain is the same. It doesn't happen that way, does it? Or openers, garage door openers, fridges, washer and dryers, hot water tanks. I don't think we need to go back on the TVs. TVs were pretty, in my opinion. JB says, he's really nervous about all the tension on the springs besides common sense. He says, I'm from 10 years in the trades. What are safety tips and advice for winding springs? That's a good question. What has this got? Mickey D's and Coke? So, I don't know if Rich is... So, one thing, you know, that I did that I didn't do is ever, you know, I don't know if I can show this or not. I'll be too gross, right? See that? That's called, I took a knee, or I took a skill saw to my knee a few years back, being stupid. Had the guard open. It was nasty weather. I was tired. Cutting some really thick cardboard, you know. Anyways, it cut my knee, right? That was a wake-up call. And I told myself, I was like, I don't want to ever be in that pain. I don't want to ever be on crutches again. And so I look at everything with like garage doors, springs especially. I've had springs, I've clamped springs, and I've had them redetonate and throw stuff. I've heard them hit the back wall. I had one that came off, what was that, the Easy Set from Menards. The guy took the cover off, the gear was there, the gear walked out, it blew up kind of, and somehow my hat went flying off, the winding bar hit the ground. You know, so, I mean, these are, that's a great question. But safety glasses, get a good pair of safety glasses that you like. Maybe find a nice cover, you know, because I'm kind of a weirdo. Like, I don't like my safety glasses being dirty. And I don't like them if I throw them in the glove box, and they get scratches or get fingerprints on them, or whoever's touching them, kids, employees, whatever. I'm just kind of weird like that. I like them to be clean and ready to go. So even if you got to buy a couple pairs and leave them in the packages, whatever you do, obviously wear safety glasses. I'd say another thing is, one guy I always remember saying something about you don't ever be in front of them. And I think that's kind of a valid point. It's harder on your shoulders though and stuff like that. If you try to stay off to the side, I think the reason was that if the bar, you ever slipped or something, you had the bar above your head, it would come down and it would crank you in the head. Maybe something that some people don't even know that existed. I didn't even know it, but my uncle worked at a John Deere plant, and they have a bump cap. So I actually have a hat just like this. You can wear a normal hat, but it actually has a stiffener in it, right? And it's just so you don't have to wear a hard hat, but it's just enough to help protect. Might be something to think about. Obviously the normal stuff, you know, good footing. I'm a hexagon or whatever. I like the hexagon winding bars. I don't like round bars. I've had too many round bars that roll off. So I like to, because sometimes I have to set them on the, you know, depending on the situation, I have to set them up on the strut, or I have to set them on my ladder, and the last thing I need is those things rolling off, or I got to catch it real quick while I'm doing something. So get yourself the right winding bars, probably a good pair of gloves, good footing. I can't really think of too much else, you know, like you said, kind of the common sense. If something feels like it's binding, kind of stop. I've had it before where the spring will actually start kind of buckling, and I didn't realize I was actually overturning it for whatever reason. There was something going on. I like to always put a mark. I use a marker of some sort. I put a mark. I use those white ones there for like tires, so I can see my turns in case I lose my count, because I've had customers walk in abruptly. I've had customers' daughters walking abruptly. I've had dogs barking at my feet. I mean, you know, and it's like, you know, so I don't do the whole counting the holes. Some guys count the holes. That's fine. If you want to count holes, and then also still put a mark on it, maybe, just so you can visually see what's going on. Maybe you start counting again. You lost your count, and you're going, holy crap, it's a 7-foot door. I got 9 turns on this thing. What the heck am I thinking? I am always a big believer too, is like once you get that last spring tightened down, I always leave my winding bar in there, and I will. There's a couple things I do. I'll pick up on the door, and I'll actually watch the door just kind of visually out my eyes sideways, and I'm watching to see if that door has a crookedness to it. So obviously I didn't get my cables totally adjusted. I'm also checking to see, is this puppy hot? You know what I mean? Like if I pull this, because I've had it before, where like I pulled it out and all of a sudden it's like the door starts rolling up and it's like it'll throw you off the ladder. Had that happen before. That wasn't fun, and it's not fun when the customer's sitting right there, standing there too, and now you look like a complete, Yahoo. Do 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 do. He says, how do I not get hurt? He says, when you still into your team's head for safety. It says, what? I don't know if I quite understand the question. What do I, it says, what, how do you, I not get hurt? He says, what do you still into your teams? Oh, until your team's head for safety. It's kind of weird. Like, I think obviously we all have the gift of not wanting to get hurt, but the thing is like, I always tell them, do whatever feels comfortable in a sense, right? There's only so much I can do. You know what I mean? Like, I can tell them wear safety glasses, but are they going to wear safety glasses? They might not. I can show them. It's more or less, I think the best thing for, like, I always think of employees or team or anybody is, in a sense, don't distract them. So if you're there on the job site, another thing is, when you're a leader, and like I said, I always talk about this as like you're the captain of a ship, because that's the only way I ever think about this. You know what I mean? And because when you're in business, there is so many moving parts that people don't even think about. I mean, today I was literally putting water jugs, right? Like bleach gallon water jugs next to a hill because this job's just not going the best for a fence job. And I literally had to think about it. I was like, do we get a hose? Or do we get water from? Well, I got a tank, but then I got a pump. And then we got to drag a hose, and we got to drag a hose quite a long ways. We might have to move the vehicle. If I just put jugs up here of water, we put concrete is for a fence in a hole, and then that'll work. It's not it's not our best craftsmanship or what we want to, but it will work. It'll get the job done for what the customer standards are, for the purpose of it, for the margins. This will work. So with employees, the big thing is like, I don't want anybody that ever works for me to ever feel under pressure. That's always the biggest thing. There's either a couple ways you go with it. Either you turn them into a sub, they're on their own, they can make their own destiny in a sense on that crap. You know what I mean? Like, you want to work faster, you want to get better tools, blah, 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 blah. Or there's like, if you're going to work hourly, like, I expect you to do a good quality job, and don't push them super hard where they're going to be like, oh my gosh, they gave me 8 service calls today. I have no clue how I'm going to get this done. If I don't get this done, I'm basically going to get fired today. You know what I mean? Because that's where things will start happening, where people are rushing and they got sweat running down. They got sweat running in their gloves. Their gloves are saturated. The bar slips out. Something happens. And the first thing they're going to do is come back to you and go, this was your fault. Because if I didn't have to do 3 more jobs, and I told you I had to get home tonight because of, I had to go to a kid's soccer game or something. And so I was trying, and this is, you know what I mean? That's why I always I'm like, no, we're not doing that. It says, JB says a sure winder to wind the springs with your drill. I bought one and also use it to train newer guys because there's no way to slip out a winding bar and get hurt. That's a good point. That is a good point. You know what I mean? I can't say nothing bad, like I said about that. I don't even know if I can really add. You can do it. Obviously, it's a cost. But we obviously know what a cost of injuries are, or a cost of somebody losing their eye or getting hurt permanently. So not a bad idea. Like I said, I've been playing around. I got that, what's mine? The spring turner. And I don't know if there's any fail points in it yet, but it's definitely a different animal. And I'm not saying bad, but it's just, it's just hard to psychologically get not to using what was the one guy told me, it was the picks. We use our picks. And I was like, what are those, winding bars? So I figured we got to start calling them picks. And so that gets a little, like I said, I still think it's good to know, like, obviously, but I would agree. There's probably more, because, I'm thinking about, even when you backwind the spring, you're going to realize, right? Because, I mean, how many times, yeah, it wouldn't be so fast. I mean, that's probably a good thing. Because what I'm thinking in my head is like, okay, you wind the spring, you tighten down the set screws, you didn't do your drums, right? But if you start unwinding, let's say the Surewinder, well, something's going to move and you're going to, what the heck's going on? Why isn't this thing releasing? Well, it's because you didn't hook your drums up, So, I mean, it's better where I've seen, I think I've done it before, where you pull the bar out and it goes, boom, and it's not hooked to nothing. That's always fun. So that's a good point. Maybe do that. Like I said, that'd be a good thing. Be safer on there. It's better on the shoulders, all that stuff too, But it's always one of those things. Are you going to get somebody? Some of these guys are just, they're just badasses, right? They just, I don't need that. It's like, I know you don't need it, but it's better and it's smarter and it's easier on your body. I don't care. I mean, I'll put some video together. We had a guy, that was talking about digging the holes. We this job just turned into a cluster fudge, and they were talking about digging, and I'm like you gotta dig 44 holes, dude. You ain't gonna make it. And we're on a hill. It's summertime right now with this 90 degree and 65, 70 degree humidity. You're not gonna make it. I mean, I was out there for 3 hours. The back of my legs are burned. Just from standing there. You'll kill yourself. So we have to come up with another solution. JB says O2, he says everyone uses winding bars. He says weird. He says I'll do some research. Yeah, JB, you didn't hear from me, but if Tony was here. He's our unofficial sales rep for Surewinder, and he would be the guy. We're gonna hopefully get together. We're gonna do the spring turner and the Surewinder, but I hate to even say this. Don't tell him I said this, but I have a feeling that the Surewinder is gonna be a little nicer. So you might want to. It looks like it's about the same price. So I have a feeling the Surewinder is probably the way to go. Don't buy the spring turner. I can't say that for sure, but that's just the unofficial advice. Rich says, just had a door that needed a new section, and he says they changed the door. They changed the door stamp. What am I missing, Rich? It says, just had a door that needed a new section, and they changed the door stamp. What do you mean by that? The door stamp? Like they changed the weight? Oh, sorry. What we were talking about earlier, the door stamp. Gotcha. Were you warned about it? Or was it like you kind of like stuck the section on and you're like, mother fudger, this thing is not like lining up. What is going on? Then it's like a phone call. Oh, sorry, we told you. We forgot to tell you, but yeah, you're screwed. Now you're going to, I mean, like that would suck. That'd be like how you supposed to explain that to customer and all that? Now you look like, at least I would. I'd feel like a dimwit, or it's just like, you mean you can't get this? They didn't tell you this? You didn't know this? You don't tell you everything. So I use winding bars for the longest and finally made a decision to get a winder after I had a car accident that hurt my shoulder. And now I fly through winding springs and it's so easy. Yeah, that's when I use, like I said, I didn't realize it. I was kind of in a hustle and we were using somebody else's scissor lift when I was helping Josh. But I did at least 2 doors together in sync, basically. We're trying to whip this out while we had the scissor lift. And I wound those springs with that spring turner, and I realized, like, I'm not like, oh, you know what I mean? And your shoulder's starting to get that burn sensation, and you got the sweat rolling. It was just like, did it feel slower to some degree? Yes. Like the preparation felt like it was like getting this thing all hooked up, get it on there, spray a little lube on the gear thing, whatever. But once you're winding, you're consistently, and you're just sitting there, and you're just like, no, no, no. You're just looking around, like, yeah, what's going on, people? You know. And when you get done, it's really convenient when you back. I mean, it's really nice. I mean, I would definitely. I kind of wish I would have bought one even sooner myself. I really feel bad because I know the guys just did a 12-door job, you know, with 2 springs, you know, per door. So what is that? You know, 24 springs. That I can't say for sure they would have used it, but I would hope they would have used it if we had it, because it was. I was like, holy cow, man, that's a lot of springs. You know, normally I've always done it. If you got 2 guys, one winds one, I wind the other. You know, we split it up, but it's always like that dreaded, like when you're up in the center, if you're kind of looking at their guys, like, you gonna wind first, or am I gonna wind first? You know, and that, it doesn't really matter because it's gonna happen. But it's like, you know, it just still is always that mental where you're like, oh man. JB says, nice skill saws. He says, aren't rated for knee cutting. He says, hope you checked on the blade after that. Yeah, that was not a fun accident. Like I said, it was a good reminder why, you know, it's you got one body, you know, and you got to take care of it. So you got to do everything you can. Like when I was using that the spring turner, I even said in one of the videos, kind of like, yeah, I was like, I'm going to get down and get a safety glass, because I realized I'm up on the ladder with no safety glasses. And I was like, this thing just has shrapnel in it, and it's metal, and it's under tension. And you know what? Anything can happen. And I've had enough things in my years of living with working on cars, anything, right? Making a project, and something hits you, right? It's like that wake-up call when it hits you right somewhere close, or even in the head, and you're like, or you had a disc explode on a grinder. I even got now, like, you know, if I use certain grinders, the bigger grinders, those 7-inch, I think, grinders, those things got a lot of power. I get the whole face mask with safety glasses, because it's like, yeah, I'm good, man. This thing comes, it's going to rip my nose open or something. Rich says, saw guys smash off their fingers, oh my gosh, in a steel man door in a factory. Holy cow. He was looking out the door. He says they were loading a tanker truck and the wind blew. Oh my gosh. Man, that's horrible. That's horrible. I don't know if you ever come across, if it's easy for you, Rich, send me that. I'd kind of like to see that. Oh, that's horrible, man. That's horrible. You just never know. You just never know, right? It's always, I used to work in a roll form factory. We made bumpers and take flat steel, form them all different ways. Pretty cool operation, but I always remember the guy telling me, and I know it doesn't always work this way, but he always told me, he says, just don't stick your fingers where they don't belong, you know. And I always thought, you know, I use tools and wrenches and stuff, and I was like, yeah, I think I'll use a wrench, you know, like I'm not sticking my finger between those rollers. And gate operators are a really big one. I know 2 guys personally in the industry that lost, it seems like they, for whatever reason, they lose their pinky right here. You know, for some reason they're rotating the so I mean, this could even happen on commercial gate or commercial garage door openers, the ones that got the external belts, but they're rolling it, right, doing something, trying to get something to click or limits or whatever, and that thing fired up, and somehow it caught their pinky. It seems like both of them on the same hand too. It was weird, and it would pop their pinky right off, and they, you know, whatever, you know, kind of that, right? So that's. And even when I got gloves on, I still don't even trust it. I've done it before open-handed, you know what I mean? And it's like, I've used a screwdriver before on certain, you know, you just know how when you're in those situations where you're just like, man, I'm not in the right frame of mind. I really shouldn't be quite, you know, like, I'm just going to use a screwdriver. Screw that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what's going on with this thing, or, you know, we've all been there. We shouldn't do it, right? But you know how it is. If you've been to some of those factories where it's just mile long of stuff that's been added on, this is like their 8th edition, and the place is just chemical bound, and there's computers and there's stuff running, and you're like, I don't know where the heck the breaker is. I need to make a quick adjustment to figure out or diagnose what's going on here. You know what I mean? Like, you know, if you go shut a breaker off, next thing you know, you hear the ladies come out of the office screaming, oh my gosh, we lost all our estimates. And you're like, click back on. Wasn't me. I just been up here on the ladder. That's a shame. I don't know what happened. I'm sorry. Yeah. Let's see here. Says, what's a good rule of thumb for torquing and feeling out tightening the set screws? Man, that's a great question, JB. I'm really surprised that maybe somebody does, I don't know about. I'm really surprised now I think of it. I haven't even seen it on a video or somebody's out there making something or saying something that we haven't had actually almost like a torque setting. It really kind of grinds me a little bit. And I mean, it might be just obviously the business that we're in. But it grinds me that we don't have like, you know what I'm saying? Like we don't have more sheets that break things down in a sense. Like I'm gonna grab this sheet over here. I'm gonna show you this sheet. Let me grab this. Hold on one second. Ugh. Some people don't know about this sheet. Now I haven't seen any more stuff like this come out, so if you guys see more of it, let me know. But when I seen this sheet come out, right, this was quite a few years back. I don't remember what, but this was in the IDA magazine that they send out, right? And when I seen that they came out with a installation chart for like certain, I know it's gonna be it's a live stream, so I know this is probably not the cleanest, but they came out with like what's 2-man, and they tell you right here like 3-inch track. This is all the time, how many sections, how long it should take. When I seen this, I literally had to cut this out of the mag. I was like, oh my gosh, just like somebody's got actually what stuff takes for time. And I love the part where I think it said something here, most allow measurements, your self-security, business payment, non-refundable, blah, 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 blah. It says chart collaborations, those of do not use one, you need to start remembering time is money. That's what it says on here, actually. Future articles, blah, 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 blah. It says this covers commercial sections, blah, blah. This is measurements, estimated time versus actual time. Other use indicated development comparison. But I love the fact that it says right here, it says doors in the shaded area generally are 1-man installation. Really interesting. So right here in the shaded, which is, let's say it says 2 panels and up to 8 foot wide. It goes up to a 4-panel, 16 wide. That's what they consider. Then, so anything that's kind of big. So now they're saying anything that's like a 6-panel, 17 to 18 is probably a 2-man, right? 2-man job. It says time shown are total man hours, which include production, this was what really got me. It says it include production, unloading, setting up on the job site, installation on 2-inch track, wood or steel jams, cleanup of byproduct, and final inspection. No, adjusting coordinating for multiple door jams. That right there really set home to me, because when I heard that, I went, oh my gosh, do you know how much stuff that we don't calculate for when we're doing this stuff? So like when you're looking at this formula, okay, so like what's it say here? So basically a 16x7 door, 4 sections. They're estimating it's a 4.5 for install. 4.5, holy crap, man, that's a long like. But if you think about it, think about the time that you need to add up for that truck getting unloaded at your shop or your house or your storage unit or whatever you're using, shipping container. Think about, you got to reload that back on. All that, you got to go to the job site. You got to get prepped, right? You got to do the installation. You got to do, you got to do walk over the customer. You got to clean the door. You got to clean up your byproduct, right? Your foam, your cardboard with a skill saw. You gotta go back to the shop or your warehouse or whatever you're using. You gotta clean up the truck. You gotta get, stuff put in the garbage can. You gotta get lube back on the truck. All these things. That's why it's like, I was like, oh my gosh, I've been undercharging. You know what I mean? Like when you think about it, when you add all that up. And so that's why I'm always telling you we have to think like, sometimes we almost have to think like attorneys. Attorney, right? They get charged for all their time, but we don't. And that's why I'm always like, I don't do free estimates. I do free estimates over the phone, but I don't do free estimates like once the vehicle leaves, it's not really free. Unless it's commercial, a bigger job for somebody that we know, all that stuff, right? But it's like when you just get the random, like I just want somebody to come out and waste their time and give me an estimate. I want 3 estimates by the end of the day in my hands. No, we can give you a price over the phone, give you a ballpark, And if you still want to play, we'll do something. But when we come out, we really want half down. You know what I mean? Because we've already figured this all out. You've sent us pictures. We gave you an estimated ballpark unless we get there and find something that's not quite right. But anyways, I think I got off with that twerking. That twerking thing for settings things, man, it's all feel. But I'm surprised somebody hasn't came out with a torque setting of some sort, right? At least I don't know anything. But that's why, like in the automotive industry, right? I mean, they got everything narrowed down to like a water pump's going to take 6.2 hours. They got a sheet, how to boom, boom, boom. You know, I'm surprised we don't have more like that in the garage door business in a sense. Message reviewed. No, I was warned, he says. Review must be getting crazy. Hey, we got the Canadian Doorman. What's up? I'm glad you're here. So, he says, so what do people charge for residential opener installs? Ooh, good thing he brought that back up. I'm glad you brought that back up. Like I said, for our area, I mean, for like this business here, we probably have to be in like the 2 to 250. It's just my guess for our overhead, for our headache. Basically, what we would do is we would charge double, you know. That's just what we would be at. You guys can let me know. Whoa. I don't know what that was. It says something that was like Chinese for president, huh? All right. Rich B says, didn't have cell phones back then, but fingers were still in the, what? It says, didn't have a cell phone back then. He says, but the fingers were still in the door. And he says they came and got them and put them on ice. Don't know if they ever were reattached. Wow. Was an outside contractor. Dang, man. Ugh. It can happen, man. I know my my stepdad. He ended up losing the tips. Had one of those I don't know what they're called, like a brake. It's basically for shearing off like really thick paper. Like if you got tons of layers of papers, like a phone book plus, it can shear right through that. And the safety or whatever, it was an older machine. Just had it. Just got in a normal rhythm. The guard was up a little bit where it's supposed to be down to keep your fingers, just clip those puppies off, man. Luckily, he still got, all his fingernails and stuff, but it's just, they're a little shorter. It says that article is the holy grail. Dude, I'm telling you. Like I said, I wish I could help you guys out. I've had it where I have tried to screenshot or I've taken pictures of this, but I don't know if anybody knows how to, but this was when I still get the IDA book, their magazine. I don't even hardly read it anymore. It feels like it's so political and who's the new president and who's getting a scholarship that I don't feel like it has the core fundamentals anymore of like this right here was what I want as a technician, as an owner. Like I thought this is great information. So I had to save this. And we actually got it mounted up here at the shop because it's a great reminder. It never gets old. It tells you that, like if you got to take out, so it says even take down. So if you got to take down an old door, it's take 50%, we'll say 50% of the baseline or base time shown above. Just some really core things that, man, I tell you, like I said, there were so many times I was undercharging for jobs. And when I seen that, I was like, no, I'd shave a little bit here and there or manipulate it certain ways. But it made me realize that we don't take account in that when we unload the semi. We got 2 or 3 guys out here. We're out there for 15, 20, 30, 45 minutes, depending on how full the truck, and we got to put it in the shop. Then we got to go reload it back into a van. We got to go out to the job site. There's a lot that goes into it, and that's why, like I said, with this customer that's going to buy their doors, sometimes that might not be so bad. You know what I mean? Let them go to the store and deal with all the crap. Now, I guided them to upgrade, and they agreed to upgrade, and I literally could do it. Menard's website is phenomenal in a sense. I agree. It's come a long ways even. I go through there and I could build a door. I went through and I just Basically put in there what I want: an extra strut, operator bracket. I said, nah, I opted out of the slide lock, even though I would have done it if it was mine, but I just, for them, I didn't want to confuse and have them wreck their opener. I went through it, better hinges, better rollers, upgrade, and they agreed to it. I sent it to them. They basically can take that same paper, go in, order it, pay for it. They can figure out whatever. They're going to pick it up or have, I don't know if Menards even delivers. I'm sure they do for a certain amount of fee, but for 9x7s, they probably got themselves a pickup truck and they want to go down there and save some money. Go ahead. And they can flop around. They can put them outside. They can do whatever. I show up. I'll go to install it and I'll be like, oh, this thing's all scratched. Boy, I'm really sorry about that. Oh, you know what? You should probably go back there. They probably got touch-up paint and it's not on me. You know what I mean? I'm just going to install it. I didn't provide it, but if I provide it, well, do you got touch-up paint? I don't really deal with a lot of black doors. They didn't send me none, but I'm sure I can get some. And then does it get there? Because I had that happen once with a customer. JB says, I'm the only guy to bring a face shield to work. He says, I say it's for the grinders. He says, but I'm also concerned about garage door springs blowing up. Hey, I think it's kind of funny, but I think it's funny in a good way. Like I think it's a good idea because I'd rather you be safe than sorry, man. Because I tell you what, something goes and you get a chunk of metal or something. Like I said, all it takes is, it gets infected. I know I just had one of our family members. He's doing some body work. He got a chunk right in his eye, and he wears glasses, but he doesn't have the full. And I told him, I said, I know, dude. I said, it's really inconvenient. It looks goofy having those big binocular glasses over your, but you really need to wear them. You know what I mean? I just can't, I was the same way, right? It's all about Mr. Cool. It's, but at the end of the day, you're the one that's got to lay in bed with those injuries. You're the one that's got to deal with those medical bills. You're the one that's got to deal with the loss of something, right? An eye, face, ear, something, whatever, right? Or fingers. So who cares? Oh, well, you know what I mean? I'd rather be safe than sorry. You know what I mean? So, but I like how you kind of spun it. I think that was kind of funny. For the grinders, but I'm going to use it. Well, like I said, I've been in those situations I've had where I put a face shield on for, especially if you have to clamp them. I've had one, I think I clamped twice and they kept breaking, but I was in a bind. I was really trying to keep this customer running. And like I said, I remember that one when it broke. I remember it threw something to the back wall and it thudded hard. And I think my winding bar or something fell to the ground. And I just remember the guy coming out and he was like, he might have been a little, but he was like, oh my gosh. He's like, are you okay? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like doing this. I'm like, first is shock. You don't realize you're hurt. Got my ears, fingers, taking gloves off, no blood. Yeah, I think I'm okay. I don't know what just happened. A bomb just went off, you know what I mean? And he's just like, that's why I don't mess with those things. That's why, because he literally did too. He went inside his house, shut the door when I was working on it. And I was like, yeah, I said, you know what? We're done. I said, you're just not going to be able to use your door. I said, you're going to have to keep parked outside. I said, until the spring comes. So, I've been lucky sometimes and other times I've not been so lucky. Says yes. He said I'm about to finally see the scarred sheet. What do you mean by is it scarred? The scarred sheet? What is that? It says save big money at Menards. That's right. That's right, man. That's right. I don't know why, but it feels like because over the years, it's almost like it's a little bit refreshing to some degree I don't know. I don't even know how to say it. Like, I'm not trying to be, I just don't know. It's almost like kind of refreshing because to use the box stores, because you kind of, in a sense, for example, I go to the store, right? And that's just, I'm used to going to the store. And I used to go to the store and actually, when I used to deal with the millwork desk or whatever you call it, the doors and windows, right? That's actually how I got into working for Menards, because the girl that worked there, I'd always go in there for pricing or something, or some customer would have a spring or a door section we needed, and I was just like, I'll just go to Menards. And I remember they were like, you work on garage doors, and yeah, well, we got a broken spring. So of course, Menards gimmick is they order everything. They order the openers, they order the springs. You can't do no markup. They also want you to use their lifts, which are crap. You can't even bring your own scissor lift or whatever, or rent one. They won't even pay for it, so it really is sucky. But when I went in there to talk to this kid, they got rid of the door, window, millwork section, right? So I'm kind of like, I go up to the building section. I said, hey, where's like the window stuff's all gone. I have door guys, And he's like, oh, they've kind of divided it. I'm like, whatever. So I'm sitting there, right? And I finally feel some age on me, right? This kid, he's pretty young. And he's doing his stuff, and he turns the computer, right? And I'm going through, and I'm like, no, do that. I'm kind of realizing, like, he's basically looking at what I would look at home on a computer. And I'm going, this is really simple. And I'm going, it's asking you, and it goes, it shows you just in line, check mark. Oh, you missed something, need a check mark, dude. So I had to make a few adjustments. So we ended up found, for whatever reason, I have no idea why this was even happening. A solid door, insulated, was more than a solid door insulated with windows. And I was like, I told the guy, I said, this is like $100 cheaper. I think it was even more. I think it was $120, $150 cheaper. And he goes, I know. He goes, that does seem kind of weird. I said, normally if you had windows, I said, obviously I know they're not insulated. I said, is that right? And he goes, yeah. He goes, it says right here. He says, heck, it says, we even got those ones in stock. And I'm like, all right. I was like, I don't know where they're saving the money on that, or they just want to get rid of them. And these are black doors. So I said, okay, well, I had to make a few adjustments. Well, then I thought, I don't need to go back in there for these adjustments. I'm just going to go back to the computer. And sure enough, I just went through, I clicked through it, and I thought, wow, if this is simple enough for Caveman Dave to figure out, hell, this ain't bad at all. And I thought, these are what the guys, young guys are starting out, whatever. Here you go. You know what I mean? Like you are actually getting you're actually getting a better price than what I get of years of experience or in business. And all you got to do, though, is you got to go in there and modify some stuff, right? You got to upgrade the hinges, you got to upgrade the rollers, and they actually have it as like, here's your cheap kit, here's your one, here's your quiet kit. I put a strut on there, I put an operator bracket on there, not real hard things, right? You got to remember to add weather seal, things like that. And I was like, well, here you go, man. I don't even have to make a phone call. I don't even have to talk to anybody. Here you go. Here you go, customer. Order this. I already put everything together for you. Go to the store, purchase it. Not my money being tied up. You know what I mean? And like I said, if it shows up, the customer goes to pick it up. It's bent like a V. They're like, what the? I don't want this. Now you almost got another employee, right? Because they're not unloading the truck. I've had the same thing. We unload stuff. What the heck is this, man? Oh, wow. Yeah, throw this back on the truck, man. Or it sits here. We'll have to figure it out the next time or whatever, blah, blah. You know what I mean? So I don't know. What's up? He says, is it Mo in DC? He said, what did I miss? Just got here. You didn't miss nothing except the big savings money at Menards from Rich. He says, I was installing a door with a 2 pair of 6-inch diameter, 5-foot long double springs. And he says, my coworker only put one leg, oh my gosh, and top spring mount. And while I was putting the 4th full turn, oh my gosh, it ripped off the wall. Oh man. This is 14 foot off the ground. He says, in a scissor lift. Dude, that's some scary stuff, man. I tell you what, the only thing I can think is, I don't know if you had a center coupler, adjustable center coupler, and you had it still, coupled. Because otherwise, that thing's going, if it's a hollow, I don't think it'd be a hollow shaft that big. I've never put a hollow shaft on something like that. That's some freaky stuff right there, man. That's my biggest fear. I'll tell you a story on it, actually. That's my biggest fear, though, is that bracket, that spring bracket, that thing coming around like a freaking axe, man. Just whop, 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 whop. Man, smack you in the face, hit you, take your fingers off. I remember this was some years back. We had it was a what do you call it? It's a deer farm, so they raise deer, white-tailed deer there. And this guy always kind of did stuff, but kind of didn't. Like, he'd call us, and he was one of those customers that was probably too far away. And the worst part was, is like, you had to go on to a main road, to a back road, to a secondary road, to another two-track, to another back road to like get there. So you're always just going down dirt roads and narrow, and you're always going over hills that you're going to collide with another vehicle. And it just seemed like you're always going out to the boonies. You never knew what you were going to get into. Anyways, we get out there, calls us, and I remember he always rode around in an ATV most of the time. And he pulls up, and he's like, yeah, he goes, I need you guys to wind that spring in there. And he's acting kind of, and I realize he's got bandages all over his hand, And I'm like, oh, okay. And so we're in there, and he finally walks in, right? And we're kind of getting ladders ready and stuff, and we're kind of like looking, and it's like, you ever just like see certain things that like, you're like, what is that? You know what I mean? And we realized that there was blood on the door and the ceiling. And we're like, holy crap, And we're like, what happened to your hand? And he goes, not a good story, guys. And I said, oh. And he goes, yeah. He goes, I had my buddy here. The door got jammed up. And he said, we were messing with that bracket up there. And he said, we didn't realize it was under tension. They took it off. And what was the worst part is that where the building is, right? You got to remember, it's a deer ranch. So it's I think it's like 1,200 acres plus. But anyways, they got their house, which is, gosh, the house is probably about 2 miles away from where the barn is. And he goes, me and my buddy were messing with it, trying to get the door because the door was crooked. Didn't realize that thing was under tension. He says, we unloosen it. He says, it got my buddy bad. He said, it did worse to him than me. He says, I got a couple fingers. He says, he's pretty much got the whole hand. And he goes, it happened so quick. He says, I'm going to call him George. I don't know his name. He says, George gets down and he goes, I'm hurt. And he says, I got to go. And he was in panic, right? He was hurt bad. I got to go. And he starts just walking down the driveway. Well, the guy's trying to, come back, man. We got to get help. He phone calls up to the house for his wife. And he says, honey, we got, something happened. We got hurt. You got to call 911. You got to get an ambulance here. We're hurt. He didn't hang the phone up all the way. So the wife, they think they hang up the phone. The wife picks back up the phone. All she's got is the garage again. She can't dial out for whatever reason. She can't dial out. Their phone, they had a weird phone system there. I even remember with their gate operators, it was weird how it communicated and stuff. But anyways, she couldn't call out. So now, good wife that she was, right, was freaking out. She literally has to run across, probably darn near about a mile, I would say, where the neighbor's house was. Across the street almost, not across, but down the road across the street, to use their phone. And he said, he goes, I don't know how long it was. He says, it was 20, 45 minutes, something like that, He said finally an ambulance made it there, and he says, but yeah, he goes, all these stitches, stuff like that. And from that day on, that guy never messed with the garage doors again, which is probably good. But I'll never forget that story where I was just like, oh my gosh, like how danger, and that bracket came around, and he said it just whipped them. And I thought, oh man, that's my worst fear. Now, the worst I've ever done, not using the right size winding bars. I was in a rush. I had a lot of service calls I had to get done that day. And of course, now it cost me, right? Because I got hurt. I was at an oil change place. So you know how oil change is, right? The floor is kind of slippery. Everything's getting slippery, right? You're touching stuff. You're doing stuff. The door is even slippery. And I remember I was torquing that thing down, and I didn't have the right size bar, and the bar slipped out. And I remember my hand, for whatever reason, because I was using a ratchet, my hand was like this, right? And those set screws came around that spring, and it split my hand open pretty good. And I remember that, of course, everybody there, oh my gosh, you okay? And I'm sitting there like, I don't think so, but I gotta get this done. You know what I mean? And my finger was throbbing. I remember I peeled back the glove. I could see blood in there. I got blood running down my arm. I just powered through it, got it tightened back up, ran down real quick, got the right size winding bars. Made out the invoice as fast as I could. Had to call the secretary. Said, I'm done for the day. Call all my jobs. I'm out. Had to go home. You know, I don't know if I went to hospital. I think I just went home, bandaged up, lived with it for a few days. So that's some scary stuff, though. Toilet. I see Rich got toilet and light bulb. Yeah, that is it, man. But if you guys got any questions, like I said, ask away. I'll give it a few more minutes. Maybe we'll get her till 10:30 or so. And I know we got the old church tomorrow. We got I might go out to the one job that we're doing the fence. It never fails. We're out there today. I brought the kids. We're putting water jugs where we got to do these poles. Best idea I could come up with. And like I said, I'm up there, right? I'm up on the hill. They got multiple gate operators at this place. And I can hear one of the gates, beep. I mean, it's just constant beeping. I'm like, what in the heck? Why is that thing beeping? So I go over there. The gates, of course, it's open. I told one of the kids, I said, hit the reset. I said, try to see if it'll reset. Didn't reset. Now it's beeping like beep, 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 doing some weird. Well, then I open it up, find out it's got the overrun timer has ran on it. That's what its problem is. It's freaking out about. I go to hit the button. Gate's not moving. Internal parts are all moving. So I'm like, did we lose a keyway? I'm like, what's going, you know, I got one of them pushing. I'm looking in the back of the cabinet. It's slipping at the clutch. If it's slipping at the clutch, why? You know, so I disconnect, try to start rolling the gate, right? The gate's rolling really hard. I don't know why even. I checked rollers. And so I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to look at it tomorrow, if we get a little break in the rain and try to monkey with it and see if I can get it up, because it is going down in the ground a little bit. But I got to find some clutch pads, and they changed them from what they used to be. So I don't even know if I got the right ones, the new modern ones. I'm sure one of the guys got them on their trucks, but I don't really want to dig through their trucks and take one of theirs. I don't know if we got some in the shop. And that's even if it needs it, because sometimes those clutch pads get weird. They get glossiness on them. They won't grab, but I could already tell it wasn't tightened enough probably from the get-go for this gate. And of course, they're using this gate a lot, and it's for the big dogs. You know what I mean? Like the president and all that. They all use this gate. So I'm like, now do I take the chance of also fixing it tomorrow, and maybe somebody else is going to fix it, or fix it so it's just ready to go for Monday and we're not getting backlogged? Decisions, because I just did one. If you guys are around for that live stream, I did the one where I did that repair, and it's my doing. I can't say too much, but I'm not going to get paid. I didn't put it in there. I gave him a price. That fix I didn't fix it. The patch. I said, I'm not going to do another repair. It's just too much. I probably should got paid about $200 or $300 on that repair. I could send a bill. But that was kind of my donor, right? That was my freebie. So anything from here on out, any problems, you want me to come out? It's going to be a service call. And like I said, it's my doing. I could go back. I could do something. But like I said, that's kind of sometimes the problem in doors, is like you can do stuff and it's not payment up front. It's always at account receivables. So the Canadian doorman. How much markup on a door is fair? Mr. Tanner, where have you been? It's been so lonely without you. Sorry guys, but late, because we are in natural disasters. Holy cow, he says my whole town is flooded. Tanner, send the pictures, man. Send me the backyard. I want to see this. Can't get in, can't get out. This is my shops are under 3 foot of water. Oh my gosh. That's not good. That's not good. No good. I've been at it since 6 this morning. Oh my gosh. No rain yet? Rich, where the heck are you at again? Aren't you south of me? What's up, Josh? What's up, Dave? Man, Tanner, I am so sorry to hear that. Tanner, if you need any help, if there's anything I can do, You know you got me, man. If you need me to run that beautiful truck down there, that beautiful van, it'll be hard, but I mean, I'll see what that Duramax what that Duramax can do. Oh man, I'm so sorry to hear that. Gosh, that's horrible. Flooding is so horrible. Oh, can imagine having water in this shop. So, Canadian Doorman, I want to get back to you on that markup. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the perfect solution for markup. Sometimes it can be. I almost always have like a three-way process that I do it, right? It could be 10%, be 20%, it can be 30%. Just all depends, right? I look at it like this. If I could send doors out this or send garage doors out these doors, and I can make $100, $150, $200, whatever you kind of feel, that doesn't bother me. And the reason is because I look at it and I go, that's not liability I got to deal with. Now, yes, they could have a problem. They could have a scratch or something. Bring it back. We'll take care of it. Right? But honestly, I don't even do it enough to say, you got to charge more for this, right? But I look at that and I go, boy, it'd be nice. Boy, if you could send out, 100 or 200 doors a day and make $100, I mean, that's good money, right? So what I always do is, like I said, when I'm looking at prices, obviously your competition will also kind of regulate you a little bit or get you a slap in the face. But I also kind of revert back to that whole thing to some degree, not always, right? But I take it and I double it. And if there's multiple doors, you want to break it down a little bit. But I always like to put everything on a paper. I always go, here's my cost. So I always know, I go, this is my cost. I can't do nothing more cheaper than this. This is what it costs, man. And then what I have found out though is when I do my calculations, it is funny how close I come to in doubling the price. I mean, sometimes it's almost scary. It's maybe $100 to $300 difference. Sometimes up, sometimes down. But I'm just going like, because this is just my opinion. In theory, right? These manufacturers are increasing their prices, right? Everything's increased. Car prices, food, everything, right? They got all this stuff. Margins are tight, blah, 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 right? They got competition. But we also, our stuff is going up too, right? Our electric bill's going up. Our sewer bill's going up. Our maintenance on the buildings are going up. Our vehicles are going up. Our employees' wages and workman's comp and healthcare and everything else is going up. So that's why it's almost like, in a nutshell, like if you take whatever the price is of that, it's almost double. It's really funny how that kind of works. I mean, because if you think of it, right, whatever openers, if you buy them from the box store, 200, 250, $300, okay, it's $300, double it. It's a $600 opener. Well, that's not too far out of the ballpark because think about it, like for us, I mean, I think the guys are charging, I don't even know if we have a $400 opener anymore, but it's a $600 to $800 opener, right? Installed. That's with our product. That's with our labor. So you take a door, I think, what do we get a price? I think I got a price for that 9x7 insulated from the secretary. Our price was $900 basically. She told me even. You know what I mean? 9x7 insulated, no windows, track, hardware, better stuff. $900. She said, I think it was basically double that. That's what I would charge. And I was like, man, double that? I was like, man, that seems kind of like, I don't know, man, double, like $900 for it. But I'm going, wait, she's right. Because if you think about it, right, you mark the door up, maybe make a couple $100, right, on the door. By the time you're left and fuel and everything, holy crap. I mean, what are you making? $300? You know what I mean? By the time you got gas, your labor, your man, whatever you're doing, I mean, yeah, it's $900. You know what I mean? So it's, and obviously maybe there's another door, so maybe you knock $100 off, right? Because you go, well, we ain't got the guy definitely can get 2 9x7s done that day. We don't have the fuel, the trip, his time loading up, going to another job site location. He should have a little more speed on him. You know what I mean? Because now he's, well, depending on the weather, what he's doing. You know what I mean? So I still haven't found anybody that has a chart or anything where I go, whoa, like this person's got it perfect, because every job is different. I mean, it's like fencing to gates to garage doors, every job. And then you got to, you get the customer that's kind of like, well, I got a price from somebody else, and it depends on how hungry you are, right? So are you gonna move on your price, or are you gonna go, nope, that's the price, and that's where I stand. I mean, that's kind of like what we do. Is like we kind of turn off residential when we're slammed with commercial. We politely tell them to use our competition, or we got a few guys that will recommend. Um, because obviously our commercials are bread and butter for us. But yeah, but if you guys got anything, you always can let me know. Do 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 do. You always tell me this. Rich B always goes, was it Valparaiso? Oh, it's Indy. Is Indiana? Is that what it says? Yeah. Dang, dude, I figured you'd be getting rain down there. I thought that whole swath was coming through, hitting like, I was like, basically everybody that watches me is getting hit. He says, gotta hop out to do admin, but I'll catch you on the next one. Sounds good, Josh. Keep it up. Let's see. Tanner, he says, Spencer, he says, is my location crazy? It says it hasn't been this bad since 1997. Man, that's crazy. It's crazy. It's weird how it all changes too. Because I know today, I watched the radar. I did a forward forecast or whatever it is, and I'm like, oh, it's all north of us. Then my daughter tells me, she goes, we're under a flood watch, and she's learning. She's 13, so she's like learning this stuff. It's kind of, and I'm like, flood watch. I'm like, hey, flood watch today. And we got hit pretty good, and enough to kind of hydroplane the cars and stuff. Nothing too crazy. We're still pretty dry, so we're soaking it up. But I was just like, what the heck happened here? Like, and I think tonight we still got another storm coming through, probably coming from Tanner. He's blowing it this way. It says 10 minutes up the road. He said Iowa Great Lakes. He says, oh, I can't say that. Old Joe is falling apart. Hundreds of feet of shoreline is falling into lakes. Dang, can't stop water. Dang, dude. Rain still north of Chicago. Huh. Wow, man. Dang, man. I know what I'll be doing tonight. When I'm laying about. I'll be looking up in Tanner's area there, looking at the news and stuff, because, man, that's just... Didn't Florida get hit? I don't think we got anybody from Florida down there. That was in the floods down there. That's just sure is weird, man. You got to tell the gov quit messing with that. Quit messing with the weather. Quit doing all that cloud seeding. So that's brutal, Tanner. Water can be a nightmare. I remember one time, maybe not so much, not garage door related, but I remember one time I did a roof for a lady with a buddy. And about 3 years later, I was doing the business, just kind of green into it, and she didn't know who to call. So they were down in Florida. I think they were at what is it, Disney World, and she called me out of the blue, and she's like, I don't know who to call, but she says, the kids are home. She says it sounded like they lost power, I think, for a little bit, but she says our basement's flooded. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, could you go over there and see if there's anything you can do? And I'm like, I was a young lad, and I'm thinking, yeah, I'll go over there. I'll save the day. And I remember I got over there, and the kids were home. So I walked in, and I said, can I look at the basement? I go down there. I mean, it's up to my knees. I'm like, holy crap, man. And I mean, their basement's a fully finished. It's got paneling for, the walls. And I mean, the outlets are either in the water or darn near, and I'm like, here I am walking around in this crap. This is probably not safe. And I think my business partner was with me at the time, and he came down and he's like, I'm like, you got any recommendations? And he's like, I don't know, but he's like, call somebody else, which was probably the right idea, right? Well, anyways, I thought I'll save them, right? So I went. I think I took my mom. She had a little fountain pump, and I remember I ended up taking that, putting that down there. I put a hose outside, right? I came back 3 or 4 hours later. So I had to go do service calls. I said, I'll be back later tonight to look at it and see what I can do, I come back later that night. It's up another foot. I'm like, holy crap, my pump's not doing nothing. So I had to go to the store. There was one pump left. Come to find out, a garbage truck knocked out the power in that area. And so everybody was buying these pumps. and there was one left. I grabbed it, right, you know, a suction pump, whatever it was. And I remember a guy walking down the same aisle, like just got that look in his eyes, and I'm like hiding it, like as I walk past him, it's mine, it's mine. I get there, I start using them, pumping. I mean, I just couldn't gain on this thing, man. I finally had to cut open the sewer line. You're not supposed to do it, but obviously I was pumping the water down the sewer line. I couldn't, if I pumped it out in the yards, it was coming down. They had walked downstairs, and I remember the neighbor guy comes over, and he goes, "Oh man," he goes, "this ain't good." And I'm like, "No, I mean, I'm just looking for advice. I'm a young kid. I don't know. I'm just, you know, like I don't even know what I'm doing." And he's like, he goes, "I fixed that." He goes, "years ago." And I'm like, "Really?" I'm like, "Well, how'd you do that?" He goes, "I filled my basement in." And I'm like, "Oh, like I don't think they like that." So we finally got it. Come to find out, they had two sub pumps. One, the sock or not the pipe failed around, so sand was getting past it underneath the concrete. And it shorted out that pump. Well, then the other pump couldn't keep up, so it got submerged in the water, burned up. Good times, man. Water is a real pain. Fire and water, it's amazing, right? Fire and water. It's amazing the problems you can have. Do 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 do. Still rain, he says. That's brutal. Water can be. Oh, it says He says my personal house is fine, which is good. It's nice to have somewhere to go. So it says for now. It says, wow, no power, no water, no sewer. Dang, dude. He says, and at 7 today, it says that they turned off the gas. Oh my gosh, man. So I sent my wife and the baby to my mom's, and I'm kicking it with the dogs watching over the house. Dude. What are you using for power, Tanner? You got like a generator? You got a power pack? You just running off cell power or cell phone juice left over? You just charging in the truck? That's insane, dude. That's insane. That's pretty horrendous. I don't think we've ever had natural gas shut off in our area that I've ever known. That's always been our go-to, especially, I know we're not in cold season, but like that's pretty bad. Like obviously they're having some problems out there to shut that kind of stuff off. But I'm kind of curious though, Tanner, if you said no sewer, like how do you, is it just like the township says don't use it because all the lift pumps are down, or is it like, because I don't know if you have septic. I'm just kind of curious on that. Why sewer, you know? No sewer, I mean. Liftmaster Guys has popped out for a bit. How do we end talking about flooding? I know, isn't it crazy? That's why I kind of, like I said, I like doing the lives. Towards the end, we're always kind of in a different world instead of talking about. I start out with kind of, you know, I like to know what people charge, you know, and the reason I kind of do that, I don't know if it works, but I like to do it for if somebody jumps into the video at the beginning. And they go, okay, here's kind of the subject. I want to put a comment in the video after the live. But towards the end, you know, it's like we're always kind of doing weather. We're talking about, we sometimes get in depth about garage door openers. Sometimes it's about business, personal, and you know, it's all good, man. It's all good because I look at it and I go, it's you know, it's a family here, and I love you guys being here, and you know, the community's great, and I love having that I can talk to you guys about stuff too, with jobs, and you guys put input, and you teach me, and I'm trying to help teach you and others, and some of the guys starting out. But you know, like I said, man, that's tough, man, because like I said, I look at it and Tanner, I can't remember. Tanner, how old are you? You're younger than me though, aren't you? Put how old you are. Popped out. Says, yeah, you got my suitcase, Generac generator running the fridge and microwave. Nice. Ooh, $6.75 for a trolley. Will put in there. Love it. That's what about, like I said, it seems like we're about the 600 to 800 if we're gonna install one of our openers. Kind of got the cheap. We kind of got the more expensive. I think the LiftMaster and the Genie. The Genie's the cheaper one. The LiftMaster is the more expensive one. This is one of my daughter's a meteorologist for NWS. She's in Central Illinois or Central? Nice. Oh yeah, 32. So 32, man. Like I said, that's right, Tanner, man. Keep hustling, man. I'm telling you, it's just for me. It's just my opinion. Like I said, hit 40, man. Something changed. Something changed. And otherwise, I feel like I was right there. I'm not trying to pick on Tanner, but I feel like I was right there with Tanner. I was in that same kind of. I understand it's you got a wife, you got kids, man. It's hustle time, baby, and you can go, and you got to be careful with that because sometimes you can go too fast. And this was me. I'm not saying this is Tanner. I went too fast. You know what I mean? Like I look at it now and I go, man, I would have focused a little more. I probably would have kept it small, kept it all. I would have done that a little more. I would have invested in some other stuff, some more assets. That's just me in the business, like I said. So I understand. That's why I like listening to what you guys have out there. The floods and that, because man, I know what it's like, man. You got kids, you got wife, you got to keep them protected. You want the best for them, and it's tough. It's tough, man. Life is tough. You got to keep a roof over your head. You got to keep your workers happy. You got to keep the trucks running. It's a lot of work. 32 young, I love it. Our cheapest is $450 for a LiftMaster 81650. Thanks for putting that in there, Eric. He says, Canadian says, I have a set price list for installs on doors and openers. The price vary depending on how much work is involved, which is probably fair. Maybe distance too, right? How far away are you? All that. Or you just say, oh, I only do 20 miles. If you're not in that 20 miles, you got to find somebody else. He says, I've been dealing with hail lately. Every time it rains. Can't park my car in the garage, but haven't had any damage yet, luckily. Man, that's nerve-wracking. That's kind of like that whole thing, too. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's like the same thing, too, right? Like when you got service vehicles and stuff, man, it's those things, if you can't park them inside like ours are, they're sitting out. We got pretty good rain coming down right now. And, parked out there, getting wet, electrical, hail, damage, sun, depreciating asset. What's Canadian guy here? Says I charge $375 for a LiftMaster 8165 and $150 to install it. Nice. So you're $175. You're in the ballpark. Like I said, that's not bad. Will says, I pretty much only do commercial. That's where the money is. That's what's kind of worked for us. We don't have to do a lot of sales. We don't have to do a lot of marketing. Once you're kind of in, you're in. But there's a caveat to that, right? And the caveat is that typically, it's almost like if you're not good with money, it's probably not a good area for you. You know what I mean? Because like, a lot of times with commercial, right, you got to upfront that money, right? An opener that's $800, $1,200, $2,500, and then you got to sit on it, for whatever their terms are, 30, 60, 90 days for they pay you, and then you got to make sure you're watching it too, right? That they are paying you while you're out there hustling, doing other stuff. So it's residential's quick cash. You're there, you do it. I have to be paid. You move on your merry way, right? Where commercial can always be that little bit of that problem child if they're not a good customer, but you can normally charge more because it's not coming out of their personal pocket. Sometimes you're around a group of guys that want to get the job done, or they want to help you, or sometimes they got like mechanics in the background that can do something or make something for you. They got torches. I've had all that kind of stuff, it's kind of nice. Eric says, he goes, I love commercial, but sometimes follow all the rules sometimes companies have. That's true. Gets old, especially taking their test. Rich says, I would agree. I just had to go to a place we have around here. It's called Sun Chemical. They make the like pigments for like crayons and stuff and ink and all kinds of stuff around the world. And I've done the test. You got to do it annually every year. And I had to go in there. I had a help cap. And you got to sit there. I don't know how to explain it. It's really tough because it's like you got to slow your roll, man. You got to slow down. when you go to these jobs, right? Like residential to me is always like whip it out, do the next one, whip it out, do the next one, get the spring done, move on to the next one. You know, but when you get into these commercial ones, not all of them, but most of them seems like, you know, everybody's real laid back. Everybody wants to talk. It's like forklift drivers, right? I always remember forklift drivers. Like forklift drivers are like the best one to get the scoop around the whole shop, right? All the drama. You know, they pull up, you lean on their forklift. Hey, George, what's going on? What's going on with Kathy over there? She seems kind of, oh, well, her and her old man are not having it. Oh, hey, what's going on with Bobby over there? Bobby's kind of, you know, like, well, I guess his car broke down on his way to work. You know, this is his sixth time being late. So one more time, he's getting fired. You know, well, you know how you know what I'm saying. So it's like you got to slow down. You got to do their safety things. You got to wear their high vis. You got to, you know, have your permits. So I agree, and that's where, you know, if you're kind of somewhat small, like one you know, chuck in a truck. Yeah, I don't know if I do so much commercial. You know what I mean? Because it's really hard. You got to get in there. You got to do all that. You got to have the insurance. You got, you know, so that's why it's all got a trade-off, right? It's kind of like the whole single and being married. They all got their trade-offs. You know what I mean? There's pros and there's cons. He said, did you get OSHA? I don't know if he's talking to me. I don't think we don't have OSHA. We have our, whatever they got to do for them, but we don't have ours, I don't believe. Cat might. Not this old man. He says, Will says, yeah, it's dices. I work at some pretty large companies, lots of nuclear power plants, quarries. He says, Hershey chocolate. Ooh, who doesn't like a Hershey chocolate? Canadian Dory says, I agree, commercial is better money, and you can typically have companies that deal with you exclusively, so lots of repeat business. Exactly, that's kind of like where we're at, where we don't, you know, that's why some of the guys that are kind of starting out, they're always like, what do I do? What should I do for advertising? And I'm like, man, I don't really have, you know, like we don't really have to advertise anymore. I think we're like third or fourth on our list for the Google. But, you know, and then some of these guys don't understand. Like I said, you know, for me, I remember when we first started out, like I said, I always remember how they always said, you know, oh, the first, you know, normally the first 5 years is like the struggle. It was more like 8 or 10 for me, you know what I mean? To get where things really started clicking, you know what I mean? Where it was still just always hustle, grind, hustle, grind, hustle, grind. Where now it's more like, hey, we got a good set of customers. We don't have to travel that far. We just keep our core customers happy. They let us increase our prices like we need to, and they trust in us. We take care of them. I mean, I'm looking at the one I was doing today, and the fact that, you know, we got the gate code and everything. They don't question us. They know it's in good hands. They don't even like, you know, can you do this job, or can you know, because we've done multiple jobs. They know we're going to handle it. We're going to take care of it one way or another. They don't even get on us, you know, like they know the weather's crappy right now with the hot weather. So everybody's working a little slower. So it's good to have. I really believe, you guys let me know. I feel like this chair's locked up on something's driving me nuts. You guys let me know if I'm crazy with saying this. And I guess you can just put in the comments in a sense, right? You could just put loyalty is important. Because my opinion is, and this is very just skimming, but my feeling is that loyal customers are really almost like the best customers. And I don't really have anybody to talk to about it. I mentioned it to the secretary before. I don't know if I mentioned it to wife, or I probably have. I think she knows everything about me. But nobody ever seems to like really like go, I agree. And this is, I'm going to give you kind of my reasoning behind it. But with loyal customers, it's like you don't have to deal with all the BS, right? And what I mean is, dang, we're up to 19 likes. Man, we get 20. I'm just shutting this thing off. No, I'm just kidding. But I just look at it and I think about how many loyal customers we've had. And it's like, I think the biggest thing is that we don't have to play games. We don't have to chase money. You know what I mean? Like, we know we're going to do the job. We know that they have expectations. We know that even sometimes, I appreciate that. Thanks for that 20 likes. That we can, you know, they're going to work with us and we're going to work with them. Dude, it is raining out here. Let's check this thing out. It's only because we got up to 22 legs. So that's a bonus. I don't know if I can do this. Got this weird bar thing here. Gotta use the key. I want to see if we got flooding going on in it. Yeah. I know you guys probably can't see it, but we got a little bit out there. There it is. It's gnarly out there. Huh. Wish I had a floodlight. Try this again. There we go. Perfect. Tanner's sending that crap this way, man. Don't be flooding out my shop. Be able to look at it a little better. Yep, it's raining. See a little bit of water. Well, that's dry. Actually, it sounds like it's lighting up a little bit, so that's good. Crazy. It's crazy. Earlier this week, we weren't getting no rain. I was like, we really need some rain. I got these trees I'm watering. And if we don't get rain, I got to water them. And now we're just getting hammered with rain. It's like, oh, they showed all week. They're like, no rain, no rain. And I'm like, oh, we're no rain. Okay. Let's see if I can plug you guys back in. Got to make sure I have power tonight so I can look at Tanner's pictures, man. Oh, and do my research. I have the OSHA 30. It says forklift drivers never know who hit the door. Oh, that's great, man. I love it. I love it. That's right. They never do, man. They never do. I don't know who did it. It was always third shift who hit the door with the forklift driver. Yeah, yeah. Isn't that the truth, man? Isn't that the truth? I agree. I can't. Nobody ever knows. Have you had an accident with a Jordan? So he says, have you ever had an accident with a door spring? So the ones that come to mind was I clamped a spring that I felt questionable. The spring was a weird wire. It might have been like an inch and a, oh gosh, what was it, 1 3/4 inner diameter instead of the normal 2-inch. And either I clamped it once or I was on the second clamp, whatever. I had that thing kind of blow up on me. That was my one. Then I had a Menards door. That was those easy set, they're called, where they have like the winder, and then you put a drill on it. It's made for the homeowner, DIYers basically. The guy took the cover off where the gear sits in there. Well, as the spring was growing, because I was doing it the normal way with the winding bars, I had the gear popped out on me. So then the spring, I mean, it just like, to me, it looked like it ejected, like the spring doubled in size. And next thing I knew, my hat, something hit my hat. I still to this day don't know what happened. A winding bar hit the ground. I don't even think I had any winding bars in my hands when it was all done. So my hat went flying. I think I might have had glasses on or safety on my top or my sunglasses. Just boop, went my hat. So I never know what, I still don't know what came right by my face. Could have been a winding bar. And then the oil change one I mentioned earlier where I was cranking it down, didn't have the right winding, or right, what do you call it? Winding bar. I was using one that was too skinny, and I was in an oil change place. Everything was oily, and I was tightening that thing just as fast as I could. I was trying to get it done, and then that somehow something let loose. It popped out, and that spring came around at full, and it whacked my fingers. I think those are some of the worst. I remember when I first started out, one of the worst was like embarrassing. Really, was we had two springs that were really heavy, or one spring that was really heavy. Two guys on a scissor lift. And as we were scooting it out, something happened. We lost the grip on it, and it went between us and the door, between the scissor lift and the door. And that made an interesting sound. There was people outside, too, of course. They had benches out there. They were smoking cigarettes. So it was like, it was like, that just did not happen. And it was like when we were first starting out, me and my business partner. So, I mean, it's like we have like no money. We have no money to, like, if we just damaged every section or they come out, we just blew the glass out of this or whatever, like, we're just like, we're screwed. We're screwed. They're going to be like, you're out of here. You guys are fired. We didn't get in trouble or anything. I think those are probably about some of the worst. We over tightened one before, sent a door back through its track. Somehow we had the numbers wrong. We were green still. The maintenance guy came over and he's like, got this running yet? And he pulled the disconnect or something like that, and that door just went. Whoosh. I had the rope or something because I was manually, and I couldn't even hang out. I was like, went up, boom, went through the back stops, whatever. It was dust flying everywhere. Guy's like, I think I messed something up. I'm like, just leave us alone. Lots of safe work permits. Yes, we have to deal with those a lot too. And hot work permits. God forbid you have to lock out the door. It's an hour ordeal. Yep. And most of the time a 3-hour fire watch, just for running grinders. Yep. That's another thing. I mean, Will's got all good things. I mean, these are great things for somebody that's either, starting out thinking, oh, I'm just going to go into commercial, Dave says, or something, or whoever. There is it's a very slow process. You know what I mean? And you got to be, I've got it down really good where I can be kind of speedy if I need to. But when I get into these places, I just kind of turn into, you got to think of like a union laborer. You just kind of, and you got to be, everything's got to be really safe. You got to go slow. You got to wear all the PPE. You got to wear, you got to mark stuff off if it's not safe. And it's not like it's not bad. It's good for everybody, right? Lockout, tag out, blah, blah, blah. But it's just, if you're not used to it and you don't have the mindset to be like, hey, I'm basically being paid hourly and this is a repeat and I'm going to get more work out of it versus you're just like, hey, I just did this job. I just made $200. Yay. I'm going to go do another opener. And well, yeah, you are, but that job, if you did a good job, you're never going to get rewarded. You got paid and you won't go back. But if you did a bad job, you're going to go back with 3 or 4 or 6 service calls, that the customer is going to expect for free. Where maybe the commercial, not so much. Maybe, you found something else. Maybe it is, maybe they're calling you out on it. Maybe they don't care. They need somebody to show up. A lot of these places I think are turning into, to some degree, I think it's across the industry everywhere, right? Mechanics, restaurants. I'm finding myself, I'm sure you guys are feeling the same too. Like restaurants, I'm getting so sick of restaurants. It's like, I don't even want to go into them. You know what I mean? Like I look at so many times, I'm like, I'll just go home and make my own food. Because so I went to one the other day. And this has been one I've gone to for many years when I used to work at when I used to plow and just worked the leaf site, when I worked at the DPW and all that when I was young. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to go there. I'm going to get myself a good sub. They got really good subs. And I thought, I normally don't have a problem. There's not a lot of people there. I can just sit over there. I can watch a little YouTube. I can do whatever. I go in this place. First thing I do, right? It's a hot summer day here in Michigan. I go in there, right? And I'm waiting for like at least a little, like a 2 degree, a 3 degree, 5 degree relief, nothing. It's like they turned off the AC to save money. This place has been kind of going down a little bit, not bad, but just every year slowly kind of. And I'm thinking, I'm like, did the owner shut off the AC to save money? I'm like, because I'm sweating, bees here, and I'm like I now I'm almost like, just give me my sub, I'll go sit in my vehicle, or I'll take it home. You know what I mean? Because this is ridiculous. And so I was just like, it just doesn't fail, man. I mean, it just seems like it never fails. Like it's just disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. And it's just getting really old where it's like, you know what? I can be at home with my disappointment, which is just my food, maybe, because I'm not having exactly what I want. But at least I can control the climate. The bathroom is clean. I got running water. I got AC. You know what I'm saying? Where it's getting to be like everywhere. I've just found a couple more mechanics I've been using. They've been doing great work on some other businesses and trucks and everything else. And it's like you find these people and they're a little bit, but I don't care. I'm fine with paying a little bit. But it's like when you do pay that little bit of extra money and the serve, and you're like, why am I, like, this is horrible. This is horrible. That's what sucks. Says, that's crazy. He says, I figured it would be a pain in the ass where you are located. I know you said something earlier. How's it working in nuclear plant? Well, oh yeah, he says, okay. It's crazy. I figured it would be located. He says, OSHA certified 3M, still take tests on safety areas, rules. Our company wouldn't let us go up a 6-foot ladder without a harness. Yeah, that's kind of I get it. Will says, I'm in Central PA. Oh, cool, man. Let's see here. What's that? Is it Rich? He says, well, did you have to take physiologically test? I don't know if that's keep your rain, America. We don't need it up here. That's funny. All these power plants won't let you touch a ladder without a harness. He says they are pretty much have a escort with you 24/7. Says I do a few PMs for like 20 to 30 doors. At these places, it'll take me 2 to 3 days. I don't doubt that. Stuff takes, like I said, when you do all that stuff, it takes so much longer. It's like when I have to work at the chemical place. It's like, oh, they want what? The doors off track? Yeah, that's gonna probably take all day. You know what I mean? It takes like half to 3/4 of the day because by the time you go in there, you sign in, you got to get a parking pass, you got to go back, you got to sign into the maintenance log, or the maintenance, what am I trying to say? The maintenance room log, to say you're there for safety. So if there's an accident, they know who's all in the place. You got to get your permit, you got to talk to the foreman. You know what I mean? And then, like I said, Will knows, Will knows, like I said, if you got to get, they got to bring the sniffer out, if you're doing any kind of grinder to make sure obviously there's no chemicals or explosion going to happen. And you got to have somebody watching, then either got to wait, 3 hours or afterwards or, whatever their criteria is. So they make us jump through a lot of huddles. No physical test. It's a funny rule on the 6-foot ladder when the teacher says teacher is 6 foot. Yeah, it's kind of weird because, like, it's almost like if you think about it, like if you're doing like the one company here in town, what they do is like they start the clock almost. So in a nutshell, it's really not bad. If you got a technician or employees and stuff like that, it's not so bad with commercial to some degree, right? Because in a nutshell, right, it's like they're always on the clock, on somebody else's clock, being paid, and they're making money for the business and blah, 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 or if there's a couple guys or whatever. So they're generating money. So that's something you always got to be kind of aware of, where instead of you like, oh my gosh, the phone didn't ring today, I got to go find another, Mrs. Jones with a broken garage door or one that's collapsed, and you're kind of, they might get 3 or 4 estimates. Now, it's not to say commercials sometimes don't, because that was the thing that I learned one time a long time ago from a guy, because my old business partner, he'd always want to be like, he's like, this thing's junk, just replace it. And I finally, one time we had one, I thought, yeah, it's probably justified to replace it. It'd be a lot easier. It was an old Osco commercial opener, garage door opener. And so I told him, and I can't think of his name right now, if it was Terry or Andy or something, but I told him, I said, hey, we really should replace this. And he goes, and I just remember him telling me, he goes, Dave, he goes, let me tell you something, how this kind of works. And it's like, he's not going to tell me directly, so he gets in trouble in a sense, but he's going to tell me like indirectly. He says, Dave, let me tell you how this works. He goes, if we have to repair that opener, I got an open checkbook. If we got to replace that opener, I got to get 3 bids. So you just let me know what we got to do. And I was like, yabba dabba doo. Like, So I go back to my business partner. I'm like, hey man, like we gotta get this thing running. He's like, but this thing just needs to be replaced. It's all blah. And I'm like, we can spend like 6 hours on this thing or 8 hours on this thing and like rewire this thing. We got a couple of these at the shop and go steal some parts out of like, and we're gonna make a better payday than if we replace this. Well, that's just, and I'm like, no, I'm like, look at it this. I'm like, look, I'm like, by the time we let somebody else in here, they're gonna come in with a rock bottom price because they want to get in here. You know what I mean? And that's how it works. They're gonna come in with some just they'll do it for cost or under cost, and our bid is gonna be like nothing, right? Or even if our bid's there, we're gonna make 20, 50 bucks, 100, 200 bucks maybe. And now our competition, now we look bad, now he's got this, or we can work 6 hours on this thing, and we're gonna make like $1,200 just for repairing this stupid thing. I think it's retarded, but that's just how it works. So you got to kind of find some of these places. And then what I started finding out too was that some of these guys have a threshold. Like they can approve repairs up to maybe $1,000, or maybe they can approve repairs up to $2,000. So if you can find out that kind of stuff, that's very helpful too, because maybe you got something that's right. Like you're like, you know what, this is probably going to be $2,200, and they're like, if it's under $2,000, I can approve it. But if it's over 22, I got to get bids, or I got to bring it up the corporate ladder or something like that. So sometimes then you go, you know what, we're still going to make pretty good money. I can do it for $19.99. You know what I mean? Just saying. Am I crazy? Says, well, we had super custom 45 foot wide, 20 foot roll steel doors, pipe broke. Oh my gosh. The only thing holding it up was the chain, the gearbox with spinning half. Oh, such a dangerous. He says them, no work, reactors on shutdowns. So I'm super lucky to haul a scissor lift with me everywhere I go. I wouldn't want to do commercial without it. Very true. Hopefully I didn't miss. Okay, no, we're good. Without it. Canadians, yeah, scissor lifts are game changers. Heck yeah, they are. So yeah, I love my scissor lift. Rock the boat with the new guy is always fun. Those guys get so scared when they're afraid of heights. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. I've had a few of those guys that you just do a little bit and they're like, "What the?" You'll be all right. Commercial work is 1 hour work equals 4 hours of time. That goes up to 8 in. Is that referencing? Will, he says change some duplex springs that weighed 267 pounds. Oh my gosh. That's what I always call when we need 2 men and a midget. A few weeks back, didn't like that. Oh, he says the weight on my coworker didn't like how much the lift was leaning out. Oh my gosh. Has everyone else ever worked in foundries? I have worked in foundries. Foundries are nasty, especially when they open up their like their ovens or their casts or whatever. Yeah, that's fun. You wonder why the ceiling's black up here. Yeah, you're up there working, doing the springs or whatever, and all of a sudden they open that puppy up. I can't breathe, dude. Gotta go down. You know what I mean? Hopefully the garage door is open or another one's open, Wait a few, give her 20 minutes or so for it to air out. Or even the heat. Whew. Man, those are hot. Put up a ladder in a lift. I put up a ladder. I know I think it was Cap that said, I will never do that again. I put up I think I only put a 6 foot ladder. I don't think I've ever done an extension or a pull out ladder, but I've done a 6 foot ladder on top of a scissor lift because I was just so close, and I was sure as heck not going to go rent another one. You know what I mean? I might have put on a harness, might have. I don't think I did though. Oh my gosh, Tony's here. Tony must be. What have you been doing, Tony? My goodness, man, you've been sitting in that vibrating chair, just, you know, drinking lattes or what? We had somebody here talking about a Surewinder, and the salesman was not here. Says, oh yeah, it says 10 foot of frame door, lift, good times. Don't tell OSHA. That's right. Out of sight, out of mind. Nice beard, G. Look at all these grays, man. I'm ready for a trim, man. It's been coming, but man, all of a sudden, like the last week and a half now, it's just been whacked, slammed, and it's like one of those weeks, like everything you got planned, you're like, all right, tomorrow we're gonna get this done. And all of a sudden, it's like 3 more things pop up, and it's like you're like, well, mother fudger, and you're trying to like coordinate it where it's been busy. I've done a 6 foot before. Same here, 6 foot, about as far as I go. This is my whole next week. I'm doing 55 fire doors, drop test in chemical plant. Looking forward to changing all those fire links. Oh my gosh. I know there's one that Cap's got to do. He's got to reroute. Fire marshal guy don't like how whoever originally installed them because they're older. So he's got to go through walls and stuff. He's got to bring them up to ceilings and something about links and whatever he wants done. You know how it is. You got to just do whatever they want. Canadian says, I've worked in foundries. Says, Willis says, foundries are the worst place known to man. So dirty. I know, man. You ever like see those guys are working? I'm always just like, I don't even know what to think about them. Like pure muscle or pure dingleberries. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, I don't know how they do it. Like I'm like, I watch them open. I mean, they'll be just like wearing wife beaters and just dirty and face. And I'm just like, I just don't understand. Like I'm always like, I can't believe we got all this stuff we got to do for safety, right? And they don't have to have these guys down here with like mask on and like a tube running to the ceiling so they can breathe fresh air, And I'm just like, but we got all this stuff. You can't go on a 6 foot ladder without a harness. And what about these guys? I mean, they got molten lava and all this stuff and all these chemicals, and I'm up here on a lift, and I'm like, I'm like a fly. I'm dying up here. I got to come down, with all the smoke. He says, yeah, he says, I hate working in them. He says, we have one local place that disposed of, is it asbestos? Ugh, is it PCB or whatever? Yeah, plastic stuff. And other toxic materials. Worst place to work. His full hazmat suit. Dang. Tools had to be cleaned after leaving. I found out the one place that we worked, I didn't ever know this, but Cap was telling me that they said that we can actually put on their invoice that they will pay for tools. It's like we use a power tool there and it's like it's all nasty, or we're just like, whatever, man, this thing's junk now, or we don't want to clean it. Like they'll pay for it. I don't know how much they'll kind of do, but I thought that's kind of generous of them for certain things. They'll pay for certain hand tools and that. I thought that's pretty nice of them. And the thing is with this customer, they've been really good. Like we've sent stuff in after the fact. It's like, hey, we, whatever, we have to add like 3-4 hours to something and that. I think it's one of those things that sometimes some of these places are just happy that people show up, because I know the other company I used to work for them did really bad service, and we've been pretty consistent. I ain't gonna say we've been the best service for them, but we at least show up when we say we're going to, and we do what we say we're going to do. And it seems like that's all they care about. Holy cow, man, is it raining out. We are just getting hammered right now. Man, it's scary when this camera up here does not normally get like this. That camera must be dirty, man. Look at this one. That's the rain off the roof. Here's the road, here's me. I don't know. Oh, that's the shop. Shop one's dark. It is just pouring rain out here. I gotta take a look at it. I want to make sure I don't get stuck here. 3 foot of rain or 3 foot of water. Ooh, I might as well just chill here for a minute, because, man, let's check for radar or something. It's just crazy. Oh, man, he says, this is that blows. Working in GMP facility is also a hassle. He says, Ray worked in steel mills and BP refinery. He says at BP you had to go through 3 days of safety. Wow, just to step foot on the ground. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And so, that's kind of a thing from, if you think about it, with you guys bringing this stuff up, it is a pain. It is a pain. And I guess it's just one of those things that you got to kind of get yourself either like you want to go that route or you don't want to go that route. Because like with Rich right there saying like, you got to go through 3 days of safety training. I'm like, dude, I'm out. I'm out. And I guess the reason I'm bringing it kind of up in a sense is that we had this place, I think it's called, it was Shar. And what they do is we had a power plant that was shutting down, and they come in and they take basically all the leftover coal and basically try to clean up the land. And then they take it over to another coal plant or something. I don't know what they exactly did. You know what I mean? But they were only going to be here for like 6 years or something for the cleanup. And we started kind of getting roped in towards the end, of their last 3 years or something. And they were always like just hit and miss, you know what I mean? And like, it just never felt like 8 cylinders firing at all the same time. It was like we'd go there and they'd let us do like an opener for them. And then they were like, even though they didn't own the building, but they were using the building. It's like the power plant owned it, but they were just using it, so they would pay for it. Weird, right? We have to go through they'd have a safety person walking around all the time and that, right? But everything that this place had, right, brand new skid steer, brand new dump truck, brand new backhoe, brand new, big stuff too, right? Everything's brand new. Everything. Brand new pickup trucks. And it's like you kind of give them a price and they kind of like fluxer, kind of, oh, I don't know about this, blah, blah. Anyways, I was talking to an electrician there. And, thanks, we're up to 23 likes. Appreciate it, guys. And so anyways, the electrician told me, he goes, I finally had to tell him to basically kiss off. And I'm like, well, why? What was the deal? And then he said, well, here's the thing. He says, problem was, he says that they would lock me up, that I was losing other customers, because he says, I've got these other customers in town that I've worked years with. And he says, now that I got to go through all their safety, I got to go through this. And what we found out, what was happening is I think we got like a $3 million policy or something. They wanted us to have some astronomical one, right? For putting in a garage room. They wanted to have like 8 million or 12 million, and something with our insurance. So we called the insurance. And for us to get this, whatever coverage that they wanted, it was going to be like an extra, I think it was like $4,000 or something, a year or something like that. And mind you, we're doing like a $1,200 opener. You know what I mean? That's with material. So, we're not profiting that. We're doing, $1,200, $1,600 opener here. And it was like, this ain't gonna work. You know what I mean? Like we can't, and we're not putting all our eggs in your basket when you're not going to be here in another 3 years or whatever. So we found out a loophole that we could do it through the electrician, because the electrician guy had it. We're friends. So he says, if you want, because he was kind of like playing the middle guy, and he says, if you want, you can just do it. Bill me, I'll bill them. So we found out that loophole, and that's what we did. But I just remember he was telling me, he said, I kind of basically told him, like, I'll pick and choose certain jobs, but I can't do all these jobs because I'm losing my other customers. So I guess that's why what I'm saying is, like, if you got to do 3 days of training, safety, you just got to remember, like, that's why, what direction are you kind of going to go? You're going to be tied up, like Tanner always does, like the ag and stuff. I think that's a great. You can do the industrial, you're kind of on the clock. It just depends on kind of how you want to roll. Do you want to be kind of insy and outsies? Like sometimes I like the insy and outsies, like you're in and you're out because it's a diversification. You get to see Mrs. Jones, you get to see your dog, you get to see a cool little hot rod car. You're normally in fresh air. You got an easy evac, if something happens. You're not held to a place that if the sirens are going off and you're like, what do I do? Like my one business partner said, he said, I ain't going to their muster station. I'm hitting the road, Jack. He says, I'm running. He says, I'm out of here. He says, they ain't going to keep me here, and so it's just kind of a balance of what you want to do. Man, it's still thundering now. He says, it's like that too. He says, lots of hoops to jump through. He says, most annoying place I've worked is a powered egg packaging place. Ooh, white dust everywhere. Wow, white dust. I've worked at a food processing. I remember when you had to watch, like you had to walk in like this bleach water and scrub your feet off, and where your hairnet and all that. That they're ones that make like little Apple packages for McDonald's. That place was pretty. You know, you got to really watch like any cuts or anything. Food. Even though they wanted you to be a certain standard, their place wasn't really. But everything was food grade, I guess. All the grease they used. But that's cool. I never thought of that. The powdered egg packaging place. White dust. That's crazy. Worked in a few chicken farms. So is it pluted or pruded? Lots of farm work. He says cow shit on everything. So much moisture in the barns that everything is seized and rusty. Oh, I bet. Marcus says, what is that, battery building facility? I don't think I've done anything battery related. I've done, what was the other one I was just thinking? I thought you were going to say bakery, and I was thinking, I've done bakery. It smells good, but I don't think they had too many problems. A lot of stainless steel stuff. Chicken farms. I can't say I've ever worked in a chicken farm. Been where like the goats and stuff and the cows and all that, but not so much like a turkey or chicken farm that I can recall. But I can imagine, man. I know how it is. I got chickens, and I can tell you like the dust when they flop, and just their coop alone, and just the dust, cobwebs, and dirty little creatures. 2 man and a midget, or a Asian boy. My God, it sounds like a bomb just went off. We lose power, man. You might hear me scream like a little girl. Shit, I missed a sale. That's right. You missed it, Tony. You missed it. Don't worry. I got them directed over to the spring turner. It's all right. It's all good. We got this covered. Go back to sleep now. Says, anyone know? I see sheet metal work before I got into door business. Long story. Somebody must be messaging me. Says, Smet. Oh, he's sending me pictures. Let's see here. Canadian. Says, anyone know how many hours in their lifetime was spent on hold with Rytech? I think that's funny. I tell you what, if anybody comes down here and made it to the end of the video or whatever, what would be really cool is to know how many doors you installed. I always thought, man, I wish I had a tree somewhere I would have put notches in it or something with an axe. I don't know how or what. Somewhere marked, somewhere on a wall or something. I would have loved to know how many doors I've installed over the years. So I never installed Rytech. He says, never worked on Rytech, been on hold for a few hours with Horman. Ugh, that's like the worst. That's the worst. Horman is pretty decent app now, so I haven't need to call them for a while. Yeah, see, all this technology is getting. It's like sad, but it's almost good that we don't have to rely. Because, man, these people are getting to be really not too smart sometimes in this stuff. And probably these corporations, I'm sure it's the bean counters, saving money. But they're also, thank goodness we're getting some more options, because probably even like the Service Spring app. Now, Service Spring, I've never had any problem. But the fact that they do have, like it was somebody the other day that said something about a phone call or something. And I thought, I was doing something. This was quite a while ago. I was doing something from home, though, and I remember, I got a screaming kid or something. I was like, last thing I want to do is be on the phone with somebody rudely, trying to do something like it was for Service Spring. And I thought, this is why it's amazing to have, the power of the internet, the website, their app to do the stuff, to order stuff, whatever you need to do. It's so great to have options, because I thought, I don't want to call anybody right now with, I can't leave the house because maybe I'm watching a kid or something. I don't remember, what I mean? But it's like, hey, how you? Shut up. It's like. Says Will says, oh man, he says that really sucks. They have special batteries for their wireless edges. Always go bad, and I'm forced to call them every time, even if I know the problem. Ooh, wow! Usually a 3-hour wait. Dang, that's a bummer. So I installed a Horman high-speed door the other day, and with wireless edges, And every time you lose power, oh no. Every time you lose power, you have to reset it. Dude, no way. Now that's a bummer. That is a bummer. Isn't that's the stuff right there? Like Eric was saying, the Horman, the high speed, that every time it loses, I mean, that's the stuff right there that'll keep me up at night, man. I tell you what, like tonight, I'm not so heavy into it, but tonight with all this power outages, these are the times right now, right? If tomorrow is Monday, these would be the little ladies, they pulled the disconnect and they don't know how to rehook it. I mean, it would almost double my workload, you know what I mean? Because they're just calling. And I'm not like complaining or saying it's bad, but this, like, they just call. I don't know what's wrong with my garage door, and now it could be a zap circuit board, so to add like this Horman now with like with an edge on it. Oh my gosh. And if it's a commercial customer, now, well, why does this keep happening? And you're like, what am I supposed to do? You know what I mean? Like I'm beholden to this company now, and this stupid thing keeps, every time we lose power. Oh my gosh. So Eric, I feel your pain, brother. I can only imagine. And then it's like, now what do you do? Maybe you're exclusively with them, whatever. Do you do them again? Are they going to fix it? Did they really fix it? If they said they fix it, Says it really doesn't make, I don't understand why high-speed doors are so complicated. He says they really don't have to be. Seems like accessories always kill like everything. It's like even gate operators. I tell people, I'm like, the gate operator is pretty much bulletproof. I'm like, but every time you put a photo eye on it, I'm like, now you put a loop detector on it. Now you put an edge on it. Now you put a keypad on it. If it's a standalone keypad, then like they got that stupid code, where for the plow guy to keep it open, which is really convenient if you know how to use it. But somebody gets that stinking code, they like to punch that number in, then the gate stays locked open. The first thing somebody does is call somebody, hey, the gate's stuck open. I don't know why it's not running anymore. And then you show up there as a technician, and you're like, God, somebody didn't release the code. Like, what am I supposed to do? Charge a service call? Just blah, blah, blah? I see job 6 months ago. Appreciate the pictures. What's your favorite car? I like this. What's my favorite car? I don't know. I think I'm kind of stuck on. It all depends. It depends on the years, right? I kind of like the Chevy Suburbans. They're GMC Suburbans. The older ones, maybe like 06 or maybe even up to, 97s or something. I don't have exact year. Just something simple, right? Good powertrain. Cheap to work on. I can work on it. Square bodies are good, but they're pretty much gas hogs and kind of clunky trucks, right? Those square bodies. Otherwise, like right now, I've been scoping out, looking at like, I thought maybe an upgrade for the Nissan that I got would be another Nissan Frontier, because Toyota's got problems. I like anything that's very reliable, durable, been proven. So that's kind of I don't really have a particular, I'm not into a lot of the, I like looking at them, right? The muscle cars and that, but they just don't do nothing for me. Like they don't make me money, and I just, you know what I mean? I just don't have that kind of money to sit and let them sit and store them. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm not too picky on the cars. You know what I mean? Like I said, but you can always let me know what you think. What's yours? Like I said, I'm always game for. I like durability. It says to reset it, you need to remove the operator cover. Press a button on the receiver, then go to each side of the door and depress the switch. Oh my gosh, man. Eric, I'm glad you're sharing this. You know what I mean? Because I'm already getting the shakes. You know what I mean? And I'm probably going to start sucking my thumb tonight when I go to sleep. So thank you. No, I'm just joking. But I'm glad you're sharing it, man. Because like I said, I know the feeling, man. I know the feeling. And especially if it's like a new customer or if it's a good customer or you got to explain it. It's like I remember doing that opener at one time. It was for that a black guy that had the Jag, and then I remember it wouldn't learn, the the opener, the remotes. It would kick the remotes out, and he's like, I just remember that guy looking at me, and he's just like, he could have been anybody, maintenance guy, whatever, and he just goes, man, he goes, I thought you sold me something good, and I'm like, I did. I'm like, but once you started programming other cars, and then stinking Liftmaster had a fight with HomeLink, and now we got to get these stupid repeaters, and I'm just caught in the middle, and it goes on and on, and so it's like I totally understand the frustration, and then now what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You're gonna try to like wire a little battery up to it, wire up a little backup battery. You know what I mean? When you're like, I shouldn't even have to do this. The engineers, the big guys, the big dogs should be all figuring this out. Or go, we got a remedy. Or what are you gonna do? You're gonna tell the customer, say, you need to get a $10 million generator on your plant. And then that still won't even work, because when they go and spend their 10 millions on the generator, and they're like, oh, well, we fixed this. But there's a 1 second delay before the generator kicks on when the power goes out. And obviously your door's still effing up. Sorry, I get a little ramped up about this, because I look at that kind of stuff and I go, that's like when I want to get the phone and I want to tell somebody right now, I go, get your freaking butt out here right now. I just spent X amount of dollars with you, and you find a freaking solution for this, because this is so stupid, and I will never, ever, or I'm calling somebody else, or I wish that's when I was the guy that was doing like $1.2 billion with them, and I'd be like, we're finding somebody else, and they'd be like, oh, sir, no problem, we'll be out there right away, we will remedy this, like, we're gonna find a solution this week for you. And you're like, darn right you are, but we don't typically have that power. We just have to, oh, oops, next year's won't do it, we'll fix it next year's. And you're like, next year I just put in a $5,000-$10,000 door. Such a pain. He says most of these places just need screen doors, not high speed. Jordan, he says, yeah, he says, I work at supplements manufacturing, seeing how stuff is produced makes me question our standards, but I'm just an office guy sitting my ass all day. Yeah, it's kind of like Boeing, the airplanes, right? What's kind of, I might, if I have to take an airplane, I might be kind of stretching over. What kind of, who made that airplane? Which one? I'm not feeling so good. I think I'm gonna have to escort myself out. Like, I'm out. Don't put me by the door. Says, yeah, and they don't show anything about the battery for the edge, so when it stops working, oh man. Tony, you're on vacation. Where you at? You down in Florida? Down there swimming through the roads? Says Rytech, he says, has thousands of error codes. Good luck remembering how to put them in manual. Oh, that's annoying. That is really annoying when you got to try to figure that stuff out. It says, I need to work on a large company and feel like every other door company hates them when you pass them on the road. I always be eyeballing the overhead guys. Oh, that's funny. It says, we're not all bad. Now we're pretty lucky, at least around my area stuff. Like you said, most of the guys are pretty good. We got a couple guys that are shady people, but we don't have a lot of big dogs here either. We don't have our city's not big enough yet where we have some of the bigger guys, for like overhead and stuff like that. But like I said, everybody's kind of got their pluses and minuses, and everybody's kind of got their niche. It's just a matter of trying to find where you fit and what makes you the best, and where you can sleep good at night, and you can provide for your family and for your extended family, your workers and employees and stuff. You ever leave a dead operator at a job site when went to a hotel? And the dead operator was on the floor by the extra when the other time it was still there? What? You ever leave a dead operator at a job, went to a hotel, and the dead operator was on the floor by the exit door? What? That's weird, man. Was that Mysteria? Says, couldn't say I've ever had a customer ask to keep the old operator. I got screwed on this once. I remember I had a guy, and I forget, he was kind of a shyster himself or something. You know, he was just, I don't know. I forget exactly how it worked, but I took out something and I needed to get paid. He couldn't pay it, and I said, "Well, actually, let me have those two old opener. I think maybe they did them themselves or took them out, but they were the older ATS, and we were putting like a newer ATSW or something. And I'm like, I want those older ones, like, and I never got them. You know, it was like he ended up. Then he ended up. It was weird because he fired or he quit. The company was, I found out later on, was changing, of course, and of course we had stuff in their system, right? It's one of those things that we never got paid on. I don't think it was a huge number, but probably somewhere, $1,200 that we never got paid on because now he was gone, so he wasn't there to vouch for us to say yes, they did do this. Openers were gone, so I was bummed about that. I was like, never even got the openers, and then it was weird because like then he went and worked for a mechanic that I would take our service vehicles to and stuff. He was there for a little bit, so it was kind of like awkward. It was just like, oh, like I can't be directly mad at you, but you kind of got me, dude. Like you know, and he just always was a little bit on the sly. Like I can never feel him out. Basically, I've had a lot of customers over the years that have been just like that, where it's like I don't know if I trust you. I don't know if you're a good person or a bad person. Like we just kind of coexist. Says, I don't have a problem with overhead. DH Place guys, he says, I think their estimates rip people off a lot. Yeah. And I guess it's kind of one of those things like, it's kind of a good point. I mean, but if they can get it, they can get it. Not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong. I mean, who's to say what their overhead is? Ha ha ha! I made funny. You know what I mean? But obviously the customer took it, right? And I think some of these places, they have to deal with some of these bigger companies. You know what I mean? Like they're almost like, because you think about it, right? If you were a builder or something or a shop or something, in a nutshell, would you really want to put all your eggs in one basket? You know what I mean? In a sense, I'm saying like maybe with a small guy or something, right? Because is he going to be here another 2 years? Is he even going to be able to do the job? Does he even know what like OSHA is? Does he know what safety is? Does he know, does this guy even have a scissor lift? You know what I mean? So I guess there's a place, you know what I mean? I know Overhead does like a lot of the big builders, and I have done some big builders, and I kind of walked away in a sense because it was like some of the big builders. We're talking like superstores, like Walmart or huge grocery stores, or we did like one for a big FedEx place, and it was like, to me, this is just my opinion, right? It felt like you had to get in with the GC, the general contractor or something. Like you almost like had to pay him off. I mean, otherwise you were like nothing. It was like Boston Mafia stuff. You know what I mean? Where it was just like, you'd be like, well, hey, they never put up the rest of the metal, and it's like you'd just be like, so, is that my problem? And it's like, well, you're kind of the guy like dictates this, like say they need to or whatever. Did you look at the prints? Well, yeah, I looked at them. They show something there, but it doesn't specify. But I'm like, we'll have to have a meeting. And then it's like you sit down, and then you got the welding guy there, the metal guy, and he's like, well, that's going to cost extra. And I don't know who's paying for that. And he's like looking at you. He's looking at the GC, and the GC's like, well, how much extra are we talking or something? It's a whole different animal. And then it's like you got to live at this place. You know what I mean? Because there's just so many things that are changing. Well, we need the doors in before you do concrete. What are you talking about? Well, you know what I mean? The list just goes on and on. It's just nuts. Rich says the old saying was, if it's not Boeing, I'm not. I love it. I love it. I love it. If it's not Boeing, I'm not going. Now it's different. For the Axelfest RC Crowler, I don't think I know what that one is. Send some pictures, Tony. When you get a chance, send some pictures. Says Will. He says, yeah. He says, I don't know our prices 90% of the time, but I know they're pretty steep. Oh, well, that's good. All the rain. The wife says she got home safe. Good. Let's see here. Bring our prices. He says it was nice chatting with y'all. Have a good night, Jordan. Thanks for being here. And like I said, what time is it? Yeah, probably kick off here in a few. Rich says, okay. Mrs. Daveadubson, I love it. I love it. I love it. It says, Will, I know our minimum commercial quoted jobs are 3 hours labor. So even if it takes 20 minutes, it's 3 hours. Didn't sit great with me, but hey, he says pay, and I don't complain. I can see them doing that. You know, it's just a 3 hour. I mean, I kind of think like when I used to work at the DPW and that, it was like if you came in there and let's say you had to reset a breaker, right? It was a 2 hour minimum. You got paid. And that was kind of like the incentive for guys to come in. You know what I mean? Because it was like, it could be a 30-minute fix. You had to run down the road. You have to do something for, whatever, a substation, whatever you call it, lift pump, a fire hydrant or something, maybe the cap came off. I don't know. Somebody twisted it, whatever, whatever. There's a mailbox in the road. You go in, you're getting 2 hours, you know what I mean? And then anything after you get paid. And I think that's a great, so I get it. I know it seems wrong, like, oh man, I'm only here 15 minutes, whatever. We're chart. Yeah, but hey, it is what it is, man. That's what our thing is. Says, well, are you on call? Ooh, this is 24/7. Think big rig. Ooh, look at this. He said, what do you think about Chicago market? Boy, I don't know, man. That's that's like, was it the Brooklyn and that's like New York stuff, man. I mean, I know I sure as heck don't like driving over in that area. I know the mayor's doing a lot of crazy stuff. I know everything's doing a lot of crazy stuff. Seems like a lot of corruption, but I can't really say because that's not my, I don't know. They're Democrats, and like I said, they probably got a lot of political stuff in, if you're trying to do a business and stuff, I'm sure it's very difficult. I'm sure it's not like they promote you. Says, so it routes between us. He says, it rotates between us. So about every 6 weeks, yes. Okay. It says, they say an airplane is 1 million rivets flying in formation. Says, I think Big Rig here, he says, I'm a truck driver. It is a good trade to get in. So it says, I'm a truck driver. Is it a good trade to get in Chicago area? I don't know. Like I said, I mean, my first initial thought is it's probably too saturated. I wouldn't know. I bet there's a lot of big franchise and big dogs in there. So I just know for me, like if you were to say like, hey Dave, uproot and like we're going to Chicago, that's where we're gonna plant our seed or whatever. We're gonna start a business there. I'd be like, it's just too congested. I don't know what kind of niche you would have. Like if you can basically, ride a bike and work out of a little, red rider wagon, maybe, you know what I mean? But the thing is what I would worry about. I'm sure that if you're doing truck driving has a lot of variables. So does garage doors, you know what I mean? And I just know from being at different places, like sitting in traffic, I sit there and I go, I'm not getting paid for this. You know what I mean? Like I'm not getting paid. I mean, if you're an employee, you're getting paid, but for business or an owner, entrepreneur, it's like, this is costing time. I should be able to get 6 service calls done a day, and I can only get 3 because I can't control the traffic, construction. So to me down there, that's just way too congested. I'd probably want to be maybe out there with Tanner, out in the rural area. You know what I mean? Somewhere more where I can drive, or I got back roads to take, and I got to get to my service calls and maybe do some bigger ones or something. Only go on call from Friday at 4 p.m. to the following Friday, 7 a.m. Perfect. So that's not bad. He said, I'm only one who does emergency where I work. Excuse me. He says, I don't do it very much and only when I want to. Interesting. We used to do 24-hour 7 or 24/7 service for us too in the garage door here business, but we ended up it just became too much of a headache. It was very far and few, and then it seemed like if you did and you didn't get back to them within like 30 minutes, they were mad, or they already called somebody else or something. You know what I mean? It just became to a point where it was like we have certain customers. A lot of our commercial customers, our good commercial customers, they got our personal cell, and they know that we're, uh, a family oriented. Like we have families, so we'll do our best to do our part, but there is no guarantee. You know what I mean? Like we just don't even work for anybody that has to be that way. We've had some that were kind of like that. But they just either fell off or we got rid of them or just they weren't a good fit. So it's a lot nicer. It really is. It just wasn't worth the headache, right? For us. Does it? He says only one I want two. He says yay. He says I'm not a fan, but it's 2 times, and I get extra pay for the week. Whether I get called out or not. Ooh, that's a good way. I kind of like that. That's not a bad way. Look at Rich. He's got what is that? Swords and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, Chicago, man. Like I said, I don't know. Like I said, it's one of those things. Like I said, you could always check, but I just look at it and I go, man, I feel like they would drown you in so much red tape right from the get go, and then to me, I don't know why. I could be totally wrong. Just a bunch of whiny babies that are going to try to drown you. Be like, oh, this guy's not doing it right, or he doesn't have this, or they're not doing this, and then you got to try to like. I can only imagine like for us, like like Muskegon isn't as big as like what is Grand Rapids or Detroit, but if you want to try to get over there for advertising, big, just even because the big dogs got all that stuff like covered, so it's just like it's even super hard. You know what I mean? So then it's like, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to be, I'd always start out like the weekend or after hours, and see, like put a thing out there. And I think a lot of people don't understand, like if you're just starting out, in a sense, or you want to test the waters, don't be afraid to put an ad out. You know what I mean? Put an ad out, Facebook or whatever you're going to do, next door or something, whatever you can do that's basically free or a little bit of money. They don't mind gambling away. And, you know, um, see what comes in, right? If you get swarmed, whoa, there's kind of a demand for this, right? And what you do is you can always just say politely, I'm really sorry. I didn't realize we were going to be so busy, or I was going to be so busy, or however you want to word it. But unfortunately, right now, I can't service you, right? It's called, what is that? Like the beta testing. You're doing beta testing the market. See what's out there. If you get like nobody and you're like, oh, honestly, this ain't working so good, but if it consistently every week, or you refresh, or you do some more ads or do something different, and it's like it's coming in, you don't have to touch any of them. Don't even have to do one. Just tell them, say, I'm really sorry, but my schedule's really booked right now. Or you get one that maybe looks just about the perfect, like, I want to do this one. It's close. It's got just an opener or something, whatever your niche is, put in a door you're comfortable with, and test the water. You know what I mean? Say, okay, I'll do this one. This is what the price is going to be. This is, blah, blah, blah. You can even do a hand scratch. No, it don't matter. Just get one of those pads, write the receipt if you need to. It says, if I wanted to drive trucks, he says, come to Pennsylvania. He's not kidding. What do you guys start out for a trainee? He says, no experience is 15, I think. He says, I'm in Missouri. So I'm making 25, he says. He says, are you piece pay? Says, I'm always interested in, I'm always trying to get people to start with us. What does it say? Because my specific franchise starts at 18 and you move up quick if you can learn quick. Nice. Says, I wouldn't do any business in Illinois, let alone Chicago. Too much red tape and taxes. I have to agree with Rich on that. 27 for commercial mechanic with about 2 years experience. Says I'm hourly. I don't know if a lot of guys do piece. If they do piece, I'm assuming I haven't heard anybody do piece in piecework in commercial. It's always residential. That's from what I've only thing I've ever seen. You know, commercials obviously a different animal. You know, especially if you're doing service or kind of like even installs. That's a little different. So, all right, guys. I'm gonna jump off here. I'm gonna go get some sleep. I really appreciate you guys being here. I really appreciate the likes. If you guys got any questions or whatever, you can always email me. Some of you guys got my phone number. You can always text me. So I got a bunch of pictures to go through. I probably won't get back to anybody. I'm probably gonna find a way to go get some sleepy sleep. But I appreciate it. I'll probably yak with you somebody tomorrow, maybe shoot you a reply back or something, or say pretty cool or whatnot. Tanner, my goodness, man, stay dry. We'll see you guys. Take care. Keep your fingers.